Hi, everybody. Yeah, that's on. Okay, just a quick couple of announcements about people and emails. Janelle, you should have the information from A Biker's Wife about the bears she won. Dandy, you should have the information about the bears that Outback won, along with the Minnie Mouse Afghan that they want to pay for and ship to Sandra, along with the calendar. If you don't have that, please contact me. California Thunder, I got your email last night. And I emailed you back, but I haven't gotten a response. So I know you have surgery on Wednesday on your knee. Prayers for that. But all I need from you, you gave me the shipping amount. I just don't know the amount of fabric she has. If you can give that to me, I will shoot you a PayPal for it immediately. So please, please, please get back with me on that. Mama Ames, I sent you Your Kill's information, but Your Kill is also in Slack. California Thunder, I've added you to Slack. If you don't find yourself in Slack, let me know. It's Bink. I sent you all the emails that you requested. You say Irene has 2 different emails. It might be one was her husband's. I'm trying to think if anybody else needs anything. Hi, Rebecca. Hi. If you're waiting for It's Bink, something you bought from It's Bink, have patience, okay? She's just getting to emails today and stuff, so just have some patience on that. She's never done this, so just have a little patience on that. Nobody's forgot about you. Hi, J.Os. That's so funny because I was just thinking about you today. I was going across something and I came across a comment of yours. And I was like, oh, there's J.Os. I don't see them much anymore. And there you are. Good to see you. So let me see if there's any other announcements for that. Okay, so I did the bears, the Afghan. That was like the most important right there. And the fabric. California Thunder. If you just send me the amounts, all I need, the amount of the fabric, because what I have in my book is something for $12, and I think something for $5, and I thought she bought more fabric than that, and I don't want to send you too little. If I don't hear from you, then I'm just going to send you that and the shipping, and you can tell me what else, okay? Because I know you want to get this all done tomorrow before you go for surgery. Okay, and then for me, everybody's been invoiced, PayPal requests, rough and ready, your stuff went out, okay? Everybody else's stuff is going out in the morning. It's all packed up, ready to go. We had to wait on payments, and then Elizabeth's was all ready and ready to go, but Jimmy had printed, oh my gosh, I'm so glad he caught it, because your purse would have went to rough and ready. And you guys don't live that far apart, so maybe you could have met and had coffee, I don't know. But he realized it when the post office woman is like, well, these are the same label with the same tracking number. I think you have the wrong label. And he realized that he printed out 2 of Rough and Ready's label, and he left yours home. And by that time, the post office was closed. So he, I think, put the label on it and already dropped it off in the chute. So you're ready to go tomorrow, and everybody else will go tomorrow as well on my end. All right, I think that's the end with the announcements. Let me see. Right, everybody's ready to go tomorrow, right, with their stuff? The people that didn't go today? Jimmy, can you hear me?
What, dear?
Everybody is ready to go tomorrow with their stuff, right? Those packages.
I need to check to see if they paid.
No, everything is, yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right, good.
Right, okay. All right, so that'll all go out tomorrow. And let me see. Anything else that... Is anyone else having an issue with contacting someone or... Hold on, I have to get to where I can see the chat because I can't see it this way. All right, let me make this a little larger. And we're going to get to the Jody Arias, I know. But I just want to quickly figure this out here. Jackie Burns, Hey, Juju Positive, how are you? Hi, Julianne. Hi, Kevin. Lisa H. Michael. Farm Wife. Vintage Gal. Farm Wife, are you all set with whatever you bought? Oh, Primrose. I think people are having trouble contacting you, so could you please respond to the emails? Hi, Texas Warrior. JS, little lady. Little lady, you bought something, right? Are you all taken care of? Carol Clark. Brenda, I'm going to ask again. Haven't seen Hurricane Holly. I hope you're okay. Haven't seen Wendy. I hope you're okay. Those are longtime ramblers. And just worried about them. Hope they're well. Vintage Gal says, I'm glad you're reading the story. It's like a bedtime story. Thanks, Vintage Gal. Debbie L. Mary Beth. Let's see. Brenda DeBerry. Hey there. Anna. I think the sale went pretty well. 12 hours of sale, so it'd take time to get stuff out. Yeah. The feedback's been very good. People really enjoying it. And good for the community, you know. People can benefit from it and make some money for things they need. Juju Positive in the live chat. Oh, hey there, Juju Positive. Like I said, good to see you. Tammy McD. And okay, I don't know why maybe I have you mixed up with someone else. Did Why Wonder? Let me check Why Wonder right now, Rebecca. Hold on one second. My glasses are so dirty. Oh, and I just want to make one other comment. It's a very important comment, and I know they're watching. So Carolyn's deleted comments, the channel, the ones that used a business that was not theirs to file a countersuit. That business and I had a video call today. Carolyn's deleted comments, and they have already contacted the police in their country and their lawyer. We've already spoken with a lawyer over here. We've both contacted YouTube Legal. I've gone through the live chat too and told them about what's going on. That company left 2 comments on one of your 2 videos, and I know you've seen them because you're watching everything. And you are not contacting that company. Okay? And so what you've done is fraudulent. You've impersonated a company and you've filed something on their behalf that's not true. So I'm giving you verbal notice that they put a message on your comments with their business account telling you that they are not connected with your channel. They didn't file anything against me, and you need to withdraw it and either be honest with your real name because you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Okay? All right. Let me look at Why Wonder. I know they're watching everything because they report everything I say and everything I do the next day, so I know they heard that. Okay. Why Wonder, right? Why Wonder? Why Wonder? No, it's not under there. Why Wonder if you can hear us? Can you please? Let me see, is this Why Wonder? Why Wonder? No, this is Vintage Gal. Why Wonder? Huh. See, the problem is a lot of times they have emails that are not anything like their YouTube name. And the problem is that when you search for their name, it doesn't come up. I don't know. Why Wonder if you can hear us? The best thing to do, Rebecca, would be to see if you could find one of their comments on our videos and you could reply to it. They'll get tagged in it. I don't know what to do here because I don't know if they sent it to my other email, even though I wonder. If anybody sees a comment from Why Wonder, please let us know where it is so we can contact them through that. Anyway, let's get started here. We'll figure it out. They were a long-time person, Rebecca, so I wouldn't, it might just take a day or two for them to hear this, and everybody's just still discombobulated from the weekend. It's only, what is it? Is it Tuesday? Is it Monday? I don't even know what it is. Today's Monday. Jimmy, today's Monday, right? When did we have the sale? Saturday, yeah. I'm losing it. Okay. So today I thought it would be interesting if we went back and looked at the indictment, which has a lot of information, and we'll put up a picture of Jody and Travis when she was baptized by him. Okay, into the Mormon faith. So I'll put that up, and we'll look at this indictment because it's quite interesting. Let me just see if you guys have any questions before we go into this. Hi, Nicole Griffith. Hi, everybody. Hi, Kathy from Texas. Irene. Let me see. Yeah, absolutely, she'll come back, Rebecca. She's a long-time person. Hi, Janae Ann. Okay. I just started, Nicole, because I was up, let's not even talk about it. I was up on video calls with that company that's being impersonated by these people that have that hate channel, and so I got if I got 2 hours sleep, so I took a little snappy. And I told you guys that the last one. Hi, Puddin'. Okay. Hi, Julia Blades. How are you? Okay, so let's go into this now. And I'm going to click the little thing, even though I don't know. It's a stream marker, but I don't think it ever works. So now we're going to go into the Jodi Arias stuff. And we're going to go to her indictment that I have pulled up here. Where did I leave you? Where did I put you? Here we are. Okay. So this was filed July 8th. Now let's see. This is her indictment for State of Arizona versus Jodi Arias. Her indictment, count 1, first-degree murder, class 1, dangerous felony, premeditated murder, Jodi Arias, or in the alternative, first-degree murder, a class 1, dangerous felony murder, Jodi Arias. The grand jurors of Maricopa County accused Jodi Arias on this 9th day of July, 2008. Remember, he was murdered on my birthday, June 4th, 2008. Charging that in Maricopa County, Arizona, count 1, Jodi Arias, on or about the day of the 4th of June, 2008, intending or knowing that her conduct would cause death with premeditation, caused the death of Travis V. Alexander. The state of Arizona further alleges that the offense charged in this count is a dangerous felony because the offense involved the discharge, use, or threatening exhibition of a .25 caliber handgun and/or knife, a deadly weapon, or dangerous instrument, and/or the intentional or knowing infliction of serious physical injury upon Travis V. Alexander. Jodi Arias, on or about, and then this is on the alternative about the felony murder, on or about the 4th day of June, acting either alone or with one or more persons, committed or attempted to commit burglary, second degree, and in the course of and in furtherance of such offense or immediate flight from such offense, Jodi Arias or another person caused the death of Travis V. Alexander. The state of Arizona further alleges that the offense charged in this count is a dangerous felony because the offense involved the discharge, use, or threatening exhibition of a .25 caliber handgun and or knife, a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument, and or the intentional or knowing infliction of serious physical injury upon Travis V. Alexander. Okay, and then, let's see, we're going to go to the questionnaire. The probable cause statement. Let me just... Okay, so the probable cause statement says that on 6/9/08, at 22:27 hours, the Mesa Police Department was called to a death investigation at 11428 East Queensboro Avenue in Mesa, Arizona. And this is, I'm sorry, this is like really faded out, this one part of it. The reporting party stated that they had found the owner of the home deceased in the master bedroom of the home, and it was unknown how long he had been there. Officers responded and found the victim, later identified as Travis Alexander, deceased, lying naked in the shower. It was unknown how long Travis had been deceased, but his body was well into the decomposition process. Officers also found large amounts of blood throughout the master bedroom floors, walls, and sink area. The initial injury detected by officers was a large laceration to Travis's throat, which appeared to be from ear to ear. The friends of the victim told officers that Travis was scheduled to go on a trip to Cancun, Mexico on Tuesday, the 10th of June. Marie said she was going to Mexico with Travis, but had not been able to get a hold of him over the phone since the week of June 1st. While in the house, she contacted Travis's roommate, Zachary Billings, and asked if he had seen Travis, and Zachary told them the night... Let me see, there's a big fold in the page. He told them, he thought Travis had gone to Mexico and hadn't seen him in several days. So Zachary said that he thought Travis was already in Mexico. They checked Travis's bedroom door and found it locked. Didn't they hear about the dog? They were able to find a key to the bedroom and opened it, only to discover what appeared to be blood on the carpet leading to the master bedroom. They also discovered large amounts of dried blood throughout the bedroom floor and walls. After a closer look in the bathroom, they found a body of a decomposed male sitting in the shower with the door open. Detectives from the Mesa Police Homicide Unit responded to investigate and confirmed that Travis was the victim of a homicide. Travis had two roommates identified as Zachary J. Billings and Enrique Cortez. They both rent rooms from Travis but rarely see him on a daily basis. Both Zachary and Enrique state they last saw Travis in the home approximately 4 to 5 days earlier, and he was acting normally. After interviewing all parties involved at this point, I obtained an investigative lead identified as Jodi Arias. According to friends and family of the victim, Jody was Travis's former girlfriend, who he had broken up with sometime last year. Jody had moved to Arizona from California because of Travis and lived in Travis's home for a few months while they were dating. Once they broke off their relationship, Jody would continue to hang around the house and even enter Travis's home without his permission. Jody was described as being completely obsessed with Travis by his family and his close friends. His closest friends. On June 10th, 2008, a search warrant was obtained for Travis's home. The search warrant was executed at 9:53 hours. Investigators from the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office arrived to assist with the investigation. Travis's body was removed from the shower after being photographed. His body appeared as though it had been rinsed off in the shower sometime after he was killed. He had numerous injuries and trauma to his body, which indicated he had attempted to fight back his attacker or attackers. The initial examination at the scene showed he had injuries consistent with multiple stab wounds to his torso, upper back, and head. The most prominent wound was to his throat, which had been cut open almost from ear to ear. All of his injuries could not be documented at the scene because of the amount of trauma, dried blood, and decomposition to his body. During the search of the master bedroom, a spent .25 caliber casing was located on the tile floor near the sink. The casing was found in a pool of dried blood near the sink, across from the shower. No gun was ever located in the home during the search. During the search, I noted that Travis's bedding was missing from his bed. A search of the entire room and closets was done, but no bedding was located. Several items of evidence were collected from the house. Some of these items of evidence included blood swabs for DNA typing, fingerprints, and hair samples found in the dried blood of the bathroom floor and baseboards. During the search for fingerprints, a small latent print was found at the entrance of the bathroom hall at waist level. The print was in blood and was near several blood swipe marks in that same general area. The section of the wall containing the latent blood print was cut out and seized so it could be analyzed in the controlled environment of the police identification and crime laboratories. And I have let me throw up the photo of that. That's right here. Where they cut the part here. Here we go. That's where they cut the piece of wall out. Okay. A digital camera was also found in the washing machine in the downstairs laundry room. The camera appeared as though it had been run through a wash cycle with several articles of clothing in the machine. The camera had severe water damage, but the digital card was intact. We also discovered that all of Travis's bedding had been washed and was found in the dryer. The camera was later identified as belonging to Travis. Travis's cellular phone was located in the downstairs office of the home. The last outgoing or incoming call was made at 12:13 hours on 6/4/08. There were other incoming calls and text messages into the phone, but none were ever answered. After interviewing Travis's closest friend and associate, Chris Hughes, it was determined that Travis missed a very important telephone conference on 6/4/08 at 1900 hours. A laptop computer identified as belonging to Travis was found in the same office. The Mesa Police Computer Forensics Unit determined that the last activity on that laptop was on June 4th, 2008 at 16:19 hours. This consisted of email activity. At the medical examiner's autopsy, it was found that Travis had multiple lacerations and punctures and one gunshot wound. Travis sustained approximately 27 punctures and lacerations and one gunshot wound to the right brow. The .25 caliber projectile was located in his left cheek. On June 10, 2008, at 2:35 p.m., I contacted Jodi Arias via phone for an interview. Jodi stated she last saw Travis in April of 2008. She admitted that they had been seeing each other as boyfriend and girlfriend for over 5 months, but had officially broken up in June of 2007 after some jealousy issues on the part of both of them. After the breakup, they continued to have a sexual relationship, but kept it quiet from the people they knew. She said she last spoke to Travis on June 3rd, 2008. It says she dates. Oh, excuse me. She states, there's a big crease in the copy of this page. She states she called him on the phone between 2,000 and 2,100 hours as she was driving to Utah from her home in Northern California. She mentioned she was on her way to a conference in Salt Lake City. On June 17, 2008, Jodi Arias came to the Mesa Police Headquarters building at 130 North Robson to be voluntarily fingerprinted. She also gave a voluntary sample of saliva for DNA typing. On June 19, 2008, I received the images located on the memory card found in Travis's digital camera. The digital card had several pictures on it, including some which had been deleted. The deleted pictures were of Travis naked in the shower just before his death. The first one was time-stamped June 4th, 2008 at 17:22 hours. There were several pictures of Travis as he was clearly posing for the camera. The last picture taken of Travis alive was at 17:30 hours. Some of the following pictures were on it. This looks like were of a subject of the floor or the bathroom. Was of the subject on the floor or on the bathroom bleeding profusely. There were other unallocated photos on the digital card that would have to be retrieved. Once retrieved, they were timestamped starting on June 4th, 2008 at 13:40 hours. The first retrieved photo was Jody Arias lying nude on Travis's bed, posing for a picture. There were 8 pictures total, 6 of Jody Arias and 2 of them of the victim, Travis Alexander. All were nude pictures and some provocative sexual poses. The date and time of those photos is consistent with the date and time of Travis's death. This also indicates Jody was lying about not seeing Travis since April of 2008. This also proves that Jody was the last person I can prove had contact with Travis prior to his death. On June 25th, 2008, I contacted Jodi Arias via phone for an interview. She stated she left her home in Northern California on June 3rd, 2008, en route to Salt Lake City, Utah for a conference. She said she was alone during the trip, which took over 48 hours to complete. During 20 hours of that time, she was out of contact with everyone because her cellular phone had died. By the time she reached Salt Lake City, Utah, it was late morning on June 5th, 2008, and she participated in the last day of the conference and then drove back home to Eureka, California. On June 26, 2008, the latent print left on the bathroom wall in blood had been identified. It was individualized to Jody Arias' left palm. This was conclusive evidence that Jody was present at the time of Travis's death, or at least at the time of his initial injury. The print was left either by Jody touching a bloody wall, with her left palm, or she touched the wall with a bloodied hand. On July 3rd, 2008, the Mesa Police Crime Lab contacted me with some initial DNA typing results. The initial results of the DNA test surrounding the bloody palm print indicated it was in fact blood. The DNA typing indicated it was a mixture of DNA from 2 individuals, one from the victim Travis, the other from Jody Arias. On the same date, using DNA typing, a hair recovered from the bloody hallway wall was also identified as belonging to Jody Arias. Okay, so now we're going to go to the state of Arizona by and then undersigned Deputy County Attorney requests that the court grant its motion to preclude the 10 letters. This reply is supported. Okay, the 10 letters. Let's see here. On July 9, 2008, defendant Jody Arias was indicted on one of the first counts of premeditated murder, or in the alternative, felony murder, for an offense that occurred on or about June 4, 2008. The victim was Travis Alexander, with whom the defendant had a relationship. On November 6, 2008, the state filed its amended notice of intent to seek the death penalty and aggravating factors. On June 1st, 2010, almost 2 years after, right? Defendant disclosed to the state copies of 10 handwritten letters, purportedly written by Mr. Alexander during the period from November 27, 2006 to May 27, 2008. On June 10, 2010, the state filed a motion to preclude the letters, arguing that they were hearsay, not covered by any exception, and they were not relevant evidence in this case. On June 18, 2010, the state made an oral motion for the disclosure of the original handwritten letters. Defense counsel indicated that Mr. Arias had received copies of the letters electronically from a third person. The court ordered additional briefing on that issue. On June 22nd, defendant filed a notice of defenses noticing that she intended to assert justification defenses under ARS 13405 and 13415 Defendant had previously attributed the crime to intruders. She now argues that all of these letters must be admitted to support her domestic violence defense. However, the letters remain hearsay and remain irrelevant regardless of the defendant's change in defense strategy. Defendant argues that the letters are relevant to her claim of self-defense and that she was a victim of previous sexual and physical abuse by Mr. Alexander. The specific letters the defendant cites mention sexual acts and fantasies, the victim's feelings for the defendant, and the victim's dissatisfaction with some of his own behavior. They do not contain any corroborated acts of abuse. The facts that defendant now apparently regrets certain acts that she consensually engaged in with Mr. Alexander does not elevate those acts to abuse or domestic violence. Admitting the letters into evidence would primarily have the effect of tainting the victim's character with his alleged sexual proclivities or fantasies, which did not justify his murder. The state did not and does not concede that the letters would be relevant to the self-defense strategy. Defendant argues that Rule 404, Ariz R. Evid, does not bar the letters because they show her state of mind and her awareness of prior acts of violence. Okay, let me just go. Let me pass this out. So there's these letters, okay? So that. Let me go over here. Let's go over here. So they're just stating a bunch of cases here, and we'll be here forever if we do that. Lastly, the defendant argues that she will not receive a fair trial unless all 10 letters are admitted. So she wants them admitted, the prosecution does not. The letters she has disclosed are letters she selected and are of questionable origin. We do not know if the victim wrote dozens of letters or none at all. Defendant has produced only those letters that show her in a good light and disparage the victim. They are relevant, cumulative, and hearsay. However, if this court is inclined to admit some portions of the letters, the state requests that the defendant identify which specific portions she intends to use, how they are relevant, and which hearsay exception applies. She should not be permitted to simply introduce pages of self-serving hearsay. The 10 letters purportedly written by victim Travis Alexander and disclosed by the defendant are inadmissible for numerous reasons. They are hearsay, and no exception applies. They are irrelevant, or if relevant, are unfairly prejudicial, and they do not qualify as character or other acts evidence. The fact that the defendant has changed her strategy to allege self-defense does not make the letters admissible. Therefore, the state requests that this court grant its motion to preclude the 10 letters. Okay, I'm just going through these things. 12 pages of requested known writing. Yeah, that's stuff they collected. Evidence collected. What's this one? Okay, here and further. Let's see. I think this is the ruling on the letters. Let me see. Okay, this is okay, this is to the motion to preclude the introduction of hearsay statements, Google Mail, and instant messaging. Ms. Arias would ask that both motions be denied, as not only do the assertions made therein not comport with prevailing law, but they show complete disregard for the rights Ms. Arias pursuant to the 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution, as well as the Arizona Constitution, in further contradiction to the assertions made in the state's motion in Lamine to preclude the introduction of hearsay statements, text messages, and the state's motion to Lamine to preclude the introduction of hearsay statements, Google messages, mail, instant messages. Ms. Arias, in the incorporated memorandum of points and authorities, herein files a consolidated response to both these motions as the legal reality that underlies both these motions in the same, is the same in that most, if not all, of the electronic communications at issue are not even hearsay to begin with, and that in order to manage the issue at hand, the court need only enforce the Arizona rules of evidence as the need arises. Ms. Arias stands accused of committing the crime of first-degree murder on June 4th, 2008. To support this charge, the state has asserted that Ms. Arias is guilty of said crime under the dueling theories of felony murder and premeditated murder. Also of note is the fact in previous motions the state has asserted that underlying the felony murder theory is the assertion that Ms. Arias committed the crime of burglary and that the crime underlying the burglary is murder. In defense to both those theories, Ms. Arias has asserted that the defense of justification self-defense pursuant to ARS 13-415, which alters the reasonable person standard to a reasonable person who has experienced abuse at the hands of his or her attacker, Ms. Arias also asserts the lesser included offenses of first-degree murder are applicable to the case at hand. The evidence that will likely come forth during trial is that on June 4th, 2008, Ms. Arias and Mr. Alexander were far from being strangers. In fact, the evidence will likely show that the couple met back in the fall of 2006 in Las Vegas, and that the relationship continued from that point forward until Mr. Alexander's death. It is also likely that the evidence will show that during their course of the relationship, the couple communicated through several different mediums, including but not limited to emails, text messages, and instant messaging. Included among these various forms of communication are emails and text messages that Mr. Alexander sent to Ms. Arias and that Ms. Arias sent to Mr. Alexander, which are sexual in nature. Examples of the communications from Mr. Alexander to Ms. Arias include an instant message wherein Mr. Alexander calls Ms. Arias a three-hole wonder. Text messages wherein Mr. Alexander states, "Send me a naughty picture," and that I'm at a club right now and it has helped me to come to the conclusion that you are one of the prettiest girls on the planet. Now, certainly, these are but a few of the many written communications Mr. Alexander sent to Ms. Arias that are sexual in nature. However, there are hundreds, and to detail all of them herein would be unnecessary to the court's consideration of the motion at hand. Likewise, during the course of their relationship, Ms. Arias also communicated with Mr. Alexander concerning sexual matters, sending Mr. Alexander text messages such as, "I fell asleep. But to answer your question, yes, I want to grind, and I want to be loud, and I want to give you a nice warm mouth hug, too." Okay, and then that she said, her cat is so wet. There are also text messages that can be characterized as emotionally abusive, such as a text message Mr. Alexander sent Ms. Arias on May 10, 2008, which stated, "Why don't you have him come back and F you in the woods? I can only imagine you are so worried about me reading. You are paranoid because you have no respect for people, privacy, and you dare insult me of all people, someone you should through your actions you hate more than love by denying me a human right of privacy countless times. You have a lot of freaking nerve. We are not all like you in that aspect." In a motion filed on August 24, 2011, the state seeks to preclude Ms. Arias from seeking to introduce the content of the numerous text messages exchanged between them as a couple, as well as the electronic correspondence the couple used to communicate. As a whole, these motions seem to rely on the premise outlined in the concluding section of the state's motion to Lamine to preclude the introduction of hearsay statements, text messages, wherein the state asserts that the conversations conducted by text messages are hearsay and should be precluded since they do not fall within any hearsay exception. State's motion in Lamine to preclude the introduction of hearsay statements, text messages, the state motion in Lamine to preclude the introduction of hearsay statements, Google Mail, and instant messaging contains the same concluding statement, but simply replaces the text message with Google Mail or instant messaging. Okay, so let's just go through this now and see what happens here. So this is a lot of the stuff that was happening in those years before the trial. But we're not, I mean, that was the important part of there. We're not going to go through every, this is just going on and over what a statement is, and it's very redundant with all the text messages. Let's go over here now. See if we've got anything different that tells us. Okay. Motion to withdraw. Memorandum of points. Okay. I think that's okay. So let's go to the next item here. There's something. I know we're gonna that was her indictment. And there's a plea bargain document in 2011. Okay, and let's see what this says. So this was filed in 2011, State of Arizona versus Jody Arias, and it says, in advance of the settlement conference scheduled for July 15th, 2011, Ms. Arias submits the following memorandum, which details her position relating to resolving this case short of trial. Ms. Arias' submission of this memorandum and her willingness to participate in this settlement conference is done with the understanding that this court will order the state to comply with the dictates of Rule 408 Arizona Rules of Criminal Procedure. Ms. Arias would also request, in order to preserve the rights due to her pursuant to the 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution and Article 2, Sections 4, 10, 15, 23, 24, and 30 of the Arizona Constitution, that all participants in this settlement conference be prohibited from discussing anything that occurs during this conference with any listed witnesses and or in any public forum. Facts relevant to resolution. Ms. Arias is confident that the court has a firm grasp of the facts in this case, thus they will not be relayed herein. Instead, she will focus on the facts she views as relevant to the resolution of this matter. On October 26, 2010, Ms. Arias submitted a plea proposal to the state wherein she pointed out, Jody is charged with first-degree murder under 2 theories, premeditation and felony murder. She is not facing any other charges. After an evidentiary hearing, the only aggravator remaining is cruelty. While felony murder is a legal and factual possibility, the probability is the state will have a difficult time convincing a jury to find Jody guilty of capital murder. It will require quite the feat of mental gymnastics to get a conviction under this theory. Understanding this dynamic, if the state focuses on the easier cell, premeditation, this too is filled with difficulties, and here is why. 1. Expert testimony will be presented regarding the extremely demeaning, degrading, and abusive behavior Travis exhibited towards Jody and its effect on Jody. 2. Not only will expert testimony be provided, Travis's own words will paint a tawdry picture, not of a choir boy steadfastly practicing his faith, but of a playboy, expert manipulator, and sexual deviant. Even if the letters are ultimately precluded, Travis's own words through texts and voicemails, recordings, will show the dynamic. Additionally, if the letters are admitted, then the recordings, texts, and emails will add a layer of authenticity to the letters, such as that the jury may come to the conclusion this was not first-degree murder. 3. Once the factual information regarding Travis's behaviors and thoughts regarding Jody come into play, the expert testimony regarding the effects of Travis's thoughts and actions on Jody's psyche will become that much more relevant and compelling. Given the timeline of the incident, the premeditation angle becomes more difficult for the state to prove. If we look at the other evidence, the evidence can realistically lead to a conviction on a lesser included offense such as manslaughter. Certainly the judge will have to give the jury lesser included offense instructions, and there is evidence to support that. 1. Text messages between Travis and Jody show that he was upset with her and told her to get out of his life and called her names. He also wanted her for sexual purposes, as evidenced by their encounter on June 4th. 2. During the unaired portion of his interview with CBS, Detective Flores makes admissions that there is anger involved in this. 3. We have an email from Travis to Jodi wherein he tells her that the only thing she is good for is oral sex, and he calls her a three-hole wonder. In addition to the facts listed above, Ms. Arias also pointed out to the state that in State versus Bailey White and State versus Dwight Wesley, Ms. White stabbed her boyfriend once in the chest during an argument. She was charged with second-degree murder and was offered a plea to manslaughter as a dangerous offense and was sentenced to 12 years. Mr. Wesley stabs his wife several times and drives her body to the Phoenix Police Department, and he gets charged with second-degree murder, and it appears that he pled to the court. Certainly these cases are not identical to the facts that surround this case, to be fair, are more favorable to Ms. Arias and some are less favorable. However, these cases are similar in many ways and are illustrative of the sort of outcome that should come out of this case. When no response was received, Ms. Arias sent a letter to the state in December of last year pointing out that one of these things that struck me was the amount of collateral damage to other individuals that would occur during the trial. Mr. Alexander carried on numerous relationships that, while in and of themselves are really not a big deal, however, when you consider them in the context of all parties, relationships, and affiliation with the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, they become a very big deal. Marriages would be affected, standing within the religious communities would be affected, personal relationships would be affected, and most of all, the very poignant and cherished memories of Mr. Alexander would be tarnished. Shortly after this letter was sent to the state, Ms. Arias was advised that resolving this case via a plea to second-degree murder was not possible, and no further proposals or offers have been made since that time. Since this time, even more evidence has come to light that demonstrate the tumultuous nature of this relationship. Emails sent to Mr. Alexander by his close friends, Chris and Sky Hughes, that demonstrate their concerns how Mr. Alexander treated Jodi have been discovered. Emails sent to Mr. Alexander sent by his one-time girlfriend, Lisa Andrews, demonstrates that he was not only dating Ms. Andrews at the same time he was dating Ms. Arias, but that she had concerns about how he was treating her and how the sexual aspects of the relationship made her feel uncomfortable. Finally, the woman that Mr. Alexander had been dating just before he passed away, Marie Hall, was recently interviewed, and during the interview, Ms. Hall described how she was dating Mr. Alexander and how during this period of time he described Ms. Arias as a stalker. The bottom line point being that the more evidence related to the relationship between Mr. Alexander and Ms. Arias that's discovered, the more apparent it becomes that the relationship was chaotic and unhealthy, to say the least. This point perhaps being one of the most prominent in an otherwise factually complex case. As it relates to resolving the case short of trial, it would seem as if the question for both parties will be, what will the jury make of this chaotic relationship, and in turn, what sort of verdict will they render as to any phase of this trial? Ms. Arias sees this as the most prominent point related to resolution, as she is of the understanding that Mr. Alexander's family is not concerned about the fact that many details of Mr. Alexander's relationship with Ms. Arias and or other parties will be made public. In going back to the question presented, Ms. Arias does not see the possibility of a death verdict being very likely. This feeling is in large part based on the fact that Ms. Arias has no prior criminal history, and even if the jury were to find her guilty of first-degree murder, the fact that said murder would be a product of a chaotic relationship would seem to diminish the chance that the death penalty would be imposed. Thus, per Ms. Arias' thinking, the most severe sanction that is likely to be imposed upon her should be that she lose at trial is a life sentence. Thus, should the state make an offer that would impose a life sentence upon her, such an offer provides Ms. Arias with no incentive to accept such a resolution. Instead, Ms. Arias is of the mindset that she has no incentive to plead guilty to anything more than second-degree murder. Ms. Arias takes this position knowing that she could, in fact, receive a more favorable verdict at trial, while at the same time cognizant of the pain Mr. Alexander's family feels and how a long, highly contested trial may only create more pain to Mr. Alexander's friends and family. Furthermore, Ms. Arias is willing to resolve the case in the manner described above because she has grave regrets for the falsehoods she told the media after Mr. Alexander's death and how such falsehoods might have caused the family even more pain. It is Ms. Arias' position that resolution of this case in advance of trial is possible only if the state is willing to discuss resolution of the case within the parameters of the sentences available for second-degree murder. Okay, so she was trying to get a plea deal there, which happened. And then we have Flores' investigation report. Okay. So let me pull this over. So you have something else to look at. Okay, so this is from Detective Flores. It says it's August 28th, 2008. I guess that he put this together. Approving supervisor approved it on September 3rd, 2008. And it begins on June 9th, 2008 at 23:12 hours. I was called and asked to respond to, that's Travis's home address, in reference to a death investigation. The initial information given to me was that officers had been called to the address after friends of the homeowner had found him deceased in his bathroom. It was unknown how long the decedent had been in the house. I arrived on the scene at 23:50 hours and noticed that the residence was secured with yellow police tape and was under police guard. No one was allowed to enter the perimeter, and a crime scene log had been established. Once fellow detectives arrived, we received a case briefing from Officer D. Pepper. He stated officers had responded and contacted several people standing outside of the residence. Officers and responding Mesa Fire Department paramedics were told that the homeowner was found in the master bedroom and appeared deceased. Officers entered with paramedics and located the body of a deceased person lying in the master bathroom shower. The deceased body appeared as though he had been in the bathroom for at least a day or two and had what appeared to be wounds to the neck and chest area. Mesa Fire paramedics from Engine Company 217C shift called the time of death at 22:37 hours. Officers began to contact the people involved. These people included the reporting party, Michelle Lowry, her boyfriend, Dallin Forrest, Marie Hall, Enrique Cortez, Zachary Billings, and Amanda McBride. The information they received was that the homeowner and possible victim, Travis V. Alexander, had not been seen since the following week. The two roommates, Zachary Billings and Enrique Cortez, both stated that they last spoke to Travis approximately 4 to 5 days prior. They knew Travis had a trip to Mexico scheduled and just assumed that he left. They stated it wasn't unusual for Travis to leave town without telling them. They didn't suspect anything was wrong until Travis's friends arrived and advised them that they hadn't heard from Travis in several days. They mentioned his Mexico trip was scheduled for the following morning, but no one had been able to contact him. The person he was going to Mexico with was identified as Marie Hall. Marie had spoken to officers at the scene and told them she was concerned about Travis's welfare since they were scheduled to leave for Mexico in the morning, but he was not answering his phone and not returning voicemail messages. Since she couldn't contact him on the phone, she decided to drive over and contact him in person. She knocked on the door, but no one answered. She decided to call two other friends identified as Michelle Lowry and Michelle's boyfriend, Dallin Forrest. She told them what was happening, and they came right over to help. They were able to gain entry to the house through the garage using a keypad code obtained from another friend. While in the house, they contacted Travis's roommate, Zachary, and his girlfriend, Amanda McBride, who were in one of the other upstairs bedrooms. They asked Zachary if he had seen Travis, and he responded by saying he thought Travis had gone to Mexico and hadn't seen him in several days. Marie Hall mentioned that she was also concerned because she and Travis had recently had a discussion regarding their relationship. Travis had invited her to go to this Cancun vacation in hopes that they would get to know each other better. About 2 weeks ago, she informed him that she only wanted to be friends and didn't want to go any further than that. She told him that she wouldn't mind if he decided to take someone else with him instead. Marie also mentioned that Travis had recently broke up with another one of his girlfriends named Lisa. She knew that he was still upset about that breakup, but didn't think that he would hurt himself over it. They checked Travis's bedroom door and they found it locked. They were able to find a key to the bedroom door and opened it only to discover what appeared to be blood on the carpet leading to the master bathroom. They also discovered large amounts of dried blood throughout the bathroom floor and walls. After a closer look in the bathroom, they found a body of a deceased male sitting in the shower with the door open. It appeared that the deceased was Travis, so they exited and called authorities. The other roommate, Enrique Cortez, had been asleep in his room, so they informed him of the situation and he also exited the house. There's a supplemental narrative. Before we could determine what had happened to Travis, the subjects on scene had begun to mention the name Jody Arias. They told officers that if someone had done harm to Travis, we needed to take a look at Jody Arias as an investigative lead. The initial information given to me about this Jody Arias was that she was Travis's ex-girlfriend. They had lived together for a while in this house and had just recently broken up. Since the breakup, Travis and his new girlfriend had their tires slashed. Jody had apparently stolen Travis's personal journals and had his email passwords and let Travis know that she knew about the other girls he was currently dating. They had broken up several months ago, and she moved back to California to be with her family. As far as everyone knew, she was still in California. As we waited for other detectives to arrive to assist with the investigation, I received information from Travis's friends at the scene that Jodi Arias had called them and wanted to know what was going on. She had also mentioned she wanted to talk to the investigating officers. The initial scene observations. A closer and more careful look at the scene was needed to assess the situation and determine if a crime had been committed. We were told the victim was lying in the shower of his master bedroom with what appeared to be an injury to his neck. The injury was described to us as a large cut from one side of the neck to the other. Although uncommon, I have knowledge of suspects committing suicide in this manner. A closer look at the scene and the body was needed to make that determination. Detective B. Cooper, Sergeant D. McBride, Commander V. Myers, and I entered the residence at 54 hours. We entered through the front door of the home after donning, I think that should be donning, not donning, protective footwear and gloves. The home appeared clean and in good order. There was a strong odor associated with a decomposing body all over the home. The odor was evident as soon as we entered the front door. Nothing downstairs appeared out of the ordinary except for a stand-up floor cleaner in the middle of the living room floor. We slowly and carefully moved up the stairs into the master bedroom, and at the top of the stairs, the master bedroom had double doors, but only the east door was open. At the top of the stairs to the south was a large game room, media room. I noticed that there was a black camera bag on the floor near a large beanbag chair. I noticed that the camera bag was open and the camera was missing. I then focused my attention back to the master bedroom. Once in the bedroom, I noticed a large reddish-brown stain on the carpet, just to the east of the door. This large stain continued down a long tiled hallway which led to the master bathroom. I also noticed the bed in the room did not have any linens, and the pillows were sitting on the west side of the bed on a chair. Paralleling the bathroom hallway to the east was a large walk-in closet with another door leading into the bathroom area. Instead of walking through the bloody hallway, I walked through the closet to get a look at the main part of the bathroom. Once in the bathroom, I noticed the body of the deceased in a standalone shower. The body was in somewhat of a sitting position, with his feet to the north and his head to the south. I noticed his body had clear signs of decomposition, which included discoloration, marbling, and some skin slippage. A closer look revealed a large laceration on his neck, which began on the far left side of his neck and traveled all the way across to the right side. I couldn't determine where the laceration ended without moving the body. I also noticed a small puncture to the left, to the center of his chest, which still had small amounts of fluids flowing out of it. I noticed other lacerations and puncture wounds on his chest, but they appeared clear of any blood or fluid flow. This indicated to me his body might have been washed off post-mortem. Next to the body in the shower was a clear plastic cup, which appeared out of place. There were no signs of any weapons on or near the body. but without moving the body, we couldn't determine if there was anything under it. A quick examination of the bathroom revealed large amounts of blood all over the northernmost sink and mirror. There were also signs of blood spatter and cast off throughout the rest of the bathroom, indicating some type of struggle. I made the determination to exit the home and obtain a search warrant from a magistrate before continuing any further investigation in the home. We exited the home by going down the stairs and then out through the laundry room and out of the open garage. While walking by the washer and dryer in the laundry room, I noticed what appeared to be small reddish-brown stains on the top front portions of the washing machine. The stain appeared to be consistent with a blood stain. I noticed this stain and continued to exit the home. At least one officer was stationed in front of the home for security at all times until we were able to obtain a search warrant. Initial interviews. I made arrangements to have the original friends and roommates who were on the scene taken to the Mesa Police Station at 130 North Robson for official statements. They were all asked if they would go voluntarily, and they all agreed. These people are listed as follows: 1. Zachary Billings. 2. Amanda McBrien. 3. Carl Brinton Hyatt. 4. Dalen Forrest. 5. Michelle Lowry. 6. Marie Hall. Interview with Marie Hall. The first person that I interviewed was Marie Mimi Francois Hall. Marie was the person who was going to Cancun, Mexico with Travis the following morning. I started my interview with Marie at 2:30. Marie said she has known Travis for about 1 year now. They knew each other from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints singles ward they both attend. They had been hanging out together since about February or March. She had seen him around the church and church activities, but it wasn't until recently that they really started to hang out and get to know each other. She knew he worked out of his home, selling some legal insurance or something, and was some type of public speaker. She knew he was from California, and his family was still there. About 1 month ago, he had asked her if she would go on a business trip to Cancun, Mexico with him. She agreed, and they started to make plans. About 2 weeks ago, she told him she didn't want to be anything more than friends and would understand if he wanted to take someone else with him to Mexico. It was too late to change the plans, and they agreed to just go as friends. The trip was scheduled for June 10th, 9:25 a.m. She said she saw him on Monday, June 2nd at a church activity, but didn't see him at church on Sunday, June 8th. Monday the 2nd was the last time she had spoken to him. When she couldn't get a hold of him all week, she began to get worried. She decided to go over in person at about 2200 hours to see if he was all right. She didn't get an answer at the door, but noticed that Travis's dog, Napoleon, was running around downstairs. She left the house and went back home, but soon called 2 of her friends, Michelle Lowry and Dalen Forrest. She told them what had happened, and they also thought Travis had gone to Cancun, Mexico. She went back to Travis's house and met up with Michelle and Dalen. There was a white car in the driveway, so they believed someone had to be home. They knocked on the door, but no one answered. This was not unusual since Travis's roommates didn't answer the door if they weren't expecting someone. Michelle was able to call someone to get the garage keypad code, and they went in. Once inside, they noticed that Travis's laptop computer and cellular phone were sitting on the desk in the den. They went upstairs and they made contact with Travis's roommate, Zachary Billings, who was in his own room with his girlfriend, Amanda McBrien. Zachary stated he hadn't seen Travis for several days and thought he had gone on a business trip out of town. They checked Travis's bedroom door and noticed it was locked. Zachary went downstairs and came back up with a set of keys and began attempting to unlock the bedroom door. Zachary managed to get the door unlocked, and he went in, calling for Travis. Zachary and Dalen walked in, while she and the others stayed near the entrance. Zachary and Dalen told them that they could see a lot of blood and Travis was dead. They all exited the house and called 911. I asked her about the 2 roommates, Zachary and Enrique. She said Zachary has lived there since January, while Enrique has only been in the home for about 2 weeks or so. Travis had told her that he rarely sees Zachary because he was constantly at his girlfriend's house. She said they don't really talk to each other too much and don't socialize. They all basically stick to themselves. I asked about Travis's former girlfriend, Jodi Arias. She didn't know too much about Jodi other than what she learned tonight. She heard that she was some kind of obsessive that she was some kind of obsessive and that she manipulated Travis's Facebook account. She also mentioned hearing that Jody would get into the house through the doggy door without being invited. She described Jody as a stalker ex-girlfriend. She had moved here from California to be near him. Travis had actually baptized Jody into the Latter-day Saints Church, LDS Church. Marie said that she was actually kind of worried about her because she was obsessive. She had also heard that Jody had stolen some of his personal journals and that they had recently taken some pages of his new book that he was writing. She knew Travis spoke to Jody sometime last week. Travis called Jody because he caught her hacking into one of his emails or Facebook accounts and confronted her about it. Other than this, she knew very little about Jodi Arias. Interview with Zachary Billings. I began my interview with Zach Billings at 3:50 p.m. Zach stated that he had known Travis for a few years now. He met him while they both attended the same church ward. He moved in and started renting a room from Travis about 4 months ago on 12908. Travis charged him $450 a month to rent one room out, but he has full access to the house. The other roommate is named Enrique Cortez. Enrique just moved in a few weeks ago. He doesn't know Enrique very well, but knows that he and Travis attend the same church ward, and that is how they met. They all just keep to themselves. Zach stated they don't hang out with each other. During the time he has lived there, they haven't even had dinner together. Zach mentioned that he spends most of his time with his girlfriend Amanda. The last time he remembered seeing Travis was Thursday morning. Zach said he was leaving the house around 11:30 that morning on his way to pick up his girlfriend Amanda. He just saw him in passing as he walked out of the house. He didn't remember seeing Travis a few hours later when he returned. When asked where he thought Travis was, Zach said Travis was always leaving town on business and rarely tells him. He also knew that Travis was scheduled to go on the Cancun trip and thought that's where he was. When asked what he did over the weekend, Zach stated that he spent the entire day, Thursday the 5th, with his girlfriend Amanda. They ate lunch and returned home around 1:30 or 2 o'clock and watched some movies. They left and went to do some shopping and ate dinner in Tempe. He got back at around midnight that night. The following day, he spent at work from about 8 o'clock to 2. 8 o'clock to, what is that? That's to 7? Is that 7? He stated he works at the restaurant called McGrath's Fish House, located at Stapley on the US 60 freeway. Zach mentioned Travis had been talking about the girl he liked named Mimi. Travis told him that he really liked Mimi and mentioned her and that he was taking her to Cancun, Mexico on this business trip. After work, he went to Amanda's again and spent an hour at her house because it was her mother's birthday. They returned to the Queensboro house after 2100 hours that evening and watched movies and then dropped her off at about midnight. On Saturday, he had the day off, but he had to attend a few meetings throughout the day. He also ran a few errands throughout the day and thinks he did laundry. The meetings he went to were in the morning and another one at about 2:30 p.m. He left the last meeting at 4 and then had dinner with Amanda's family around 2100 hours. After dinner, he and Amanda hung out at this house again to watch another movie until about midnight again. On Sunday of that week, Zach remembered he was on his way to the church and his car battery was dead. He was looking for a set of jumper cables until he found a neighbor with cables who also helped him jump his battery. He went to the church at 9 and then went to Amanda's house until about 3. He went to that afternoon and didn't get back and home until approximately 2330 hours. On Monday morning, he went to work at 8, and he was there until 4:45. After work, he went to dinner with Amanda, ran some errands, and didn't get back home until 2000 hours. He said he was there with Amanda until Travis's friends knocked on the door at about 2200 hours. Zach remembered asking Enrique about where Travis was. Enrique said that he believed he had gone on a business trip. Zach said Travis normally drives to his out-of-town business meetings, but since he was going to Cancun, Mexico, he didn't think it was out of the ordinary that his car was still in the garage. Zach stated that he sent Travis a few text messages, one of which was about a mailbox key, but Travis never responded. The text messages were sent on Saturday and one on Sunday. When asked about Jodi Arias, Zach said he had met her when he moved in and that she would come around and hang out all the time when he first moved in. She used to clean Travis's house on occasion and he would pay her. He knew that she moved to Arizona from California soon after they broke up. She moved into a nearby neighborhood to be close to Travis. He knew they had issues and argued about her showing up at the house unannounced. He would argue with her and asked why she was in the house. They would have arguments about her moving down to Mesa after they were already broken up. She would call at inappropriate times and ask for advice about different things. When asked how she got into the house, Zach said she would just let herself in sometimes because the door was never locked. Zach said he felt Travis was just trying to help Jodi out since he didn't have anyone else here in town. He said Jodi moved back to California recently. He believes she moved about 1 or 2 months ago. He remembered the day she moved because she showed up at the house with a U-Haul moving truck. Just prior to her moving, Travis and her got into an argument about her moving away. On the day of her move, she showed up with the U-Haul and they got into another argument. At the time he moved in, Travis was already dating another girl. He couldn't remember the new girlfriend's name. He broke up with the last girlfriend in mid-February. Jodi was the reason the relationship didn't work. The new girlfriend didn't like the fact that Jodi was always hanging around. He told her that until he dealt... she told her. That until he dealt with Jodi, they would just have to end the relationship. Or he told her, I guess. Going back to the laundry, I asked Zach about the last time that he did laundry. He had mentioned at the beginning of his interview that he had done laundry on Saturday, the 7th of June. He clarified he did laundry on Wednesday, the 4th of June, and had cleaned his room on Saturday, the 7th of June. He uses the washer and dryer at the house when doing laundry. I asked about Travis's bedroom, specifically his bedding. He mentioned that Travis has a brown comforter and light color sheets. He has about 4 to 5 pillows with brown pillowcases. He said he has been in his bedroom before, so I asked if he noticed anything different or unusual about his bedroom. He said the only thing he noticed is that the bed looked like it had been tossed. I asked Zach about any cameras Travis might have owned. He said that Travis had just purchased a very nice black digital SLR type camera. He said it was a Sony brand. Zach mentioned he was a photographer and Travis asked for his advice about what kind of camera he should buy. He suggested that style of camera to him. When asked about any medical problems or illnesses Travis might have, Zach mentioned he wasn't aware of any and said Travis was in pretty good shape. He would exercise regularly and was into kickboxing. He would run and ride his bike quite regularly, and he was very health conscious. He wouldn't even drink soda. When asked if he noticed anything unusual or out of the ordinary during the past week, the only thing Zach remembered was on Wednesday or Thursday. He said he came home, he noticed the furniture on the tile floor downstairs had been moved. Travis had purchased a floor cleaner a few weeks prior, and it had been sitting downstairs the entire time. He thought that maybe Travis had been preparing to clean the floor or had cleaned it. The following day, the items were still in the same position, which he felt was kind of odd. It stayed that way for a few more days until some of the stuff was eventually put back. Zach said he wasn't sure, but he believed Enrique might have put some of the items back. He also remembered going downstairs and feeling the banister and thinking it was a little slick, as though it had been cleaned. He didn't think anything about it because he thought Travis might have just been cleaning and might have cleaned the banister. When asked about the home security, Zach said there really wasn't any. The door was usually always unlocked when Travis was home, and he mentioned he didn't even have a key. He had the garage door opener and knew the garage keypad code. I asked about the cleaning duties. Zach said there were no set cleaning duties in the house. They just cleaned up after themselves. They did their own dishes and laundry, and he and Enrique usually used and cleaned the upstairs bathroom by their bedrooms. Travis would take care of the guest bathroom downstairs, along with his own bathroom. I asked if he had access into Travis's bedroom or bathroom, and Zach said he has been in there, but only if he needed to get something. Travis would allow him to get medications and stuff like that from his medicine cabinet. Once the interview was finished, I asked Zach if he would supply a buccal swab for DNA, and he agreed to give a buccal swab. The swab was obtained and submitted into evidence. Detectives B. Cooper and S. Molander interviewed the remaining individuals. They were able to brief me regarding their interviews with Amanda McBrien, Carl Hyatt, and Dallin Forrest and Enrique Cortez. All of them had similar accounts of what had happened over the past few days leading up to the discovery of Travis's death. See the supplemental reports. Search warrant information. On the morning of June 10th, 2008, a search warrant was obtained for Travis's residence. The search warrant was executed at 9:53 a.m. Supplemental, let's see. Mesa Police latent print examiners H. Connor and M. Schriel were on scene to assist with documenting, photographing, and collecting of evidence. Entry photos were taken prior to the search for evidence. Forensic chemists L. Perry and E. Sapinoso were also at the scene to assist with any biological evidence. Once the entry photos were completed, fellow detectives and I entered to begin documenting the scene and to begin the search for evidence. The initial focus was placed on the body of the victim and surrounding areas such as the master bedroom and the master bathroom. All who entered the house for investigative reasons wore protective footwear and gloves, which were regularly changed out to minimize contamination. The master bedroom suite consisted of a main bedroom area, a large walk-in closet, a long tiled hallway, a main bathroom area with double sinks, tub, and standalone shower, and a toilet room. The bedroom suite was located upstairs at the northeast end of the home. The entryway to the room was at the top of the staircase and consisted of a double door. At first glance, inside the master bedroom, I could see a large stained area of the carpet at the entryway of the bathroom hallway. The stain appeared to be consistent with a blood stain, which was several days old. Looking down the hallway, I noticed large amounts of what appeared to be blood on the tile floor and entered an entire length of both walls. A closer look revealed a slight void of blood down the center of the tile, which could not be initially explained. Since the hallway into the bathroom area was covered in blood, we made entry into the bathroom through the walk-in closet, which had a door on the opposite end. Once in the bathroom area, I noticed large amounts of blood on the most northern sink and mirror. Some of the blood appeared diluted, as though water had been spilled on it in a short period of time, while other sections of the blood spatter appeared to resemble heavy arterial spurting. I noticed the inside of the sink had a combination of both diluted blood with heavy spatter on top of it. This indicated the faucet had been running initially and then turned off as the person continued bleeding for a few seconds afterwards. There were areas with thick puddles of dried blood all over the floor, with a combination of light diluted areas throughout the majority of the floor. Closer look at a cardboard box in the linen closet closest next to the sink revealed a reddish color watermark on a few inches up from the floor. This indicated to me that the floor at some time after the incident had large amounts of water on it. Further, initial observations revealed several areas throughout the bathroom had signs of cast-off blood spatter. On the far southern part of the bathroom, there was spatter on both window blinds. Some of these droplets were at below waist level, all the way to the very top slat over 6 feet up. Other splatter could be seen very low on the wall, near the towel rack in the same area, and all over the door jamb leading into the toilet room on the bottom of the toilet itself. The large amounts of blood throughout the bathroom and the bedroom area indicated to me that there was either a struggle or the victim was attempting to flee his attacker. The victim's body. The victim's body was not moved until the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office. I just want to make sure that you guys are still here. Hold on a sec. I'm just trying to make sure everybody's okay. Everybody's okay? Everybody's okay. Okay. The victim's body was not moved until the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office was on scene. Prior to their arrival, he was photographed in the shower as he was found. I noticed that he had several visible wounds to his torso, head, neck, and one of his hands. I did not notice any signs of weapons in his immediate vicinity. As I was looking at his wounds, in particular a wound to the center of his chest, I noticed the blood flow was traveling in one single direction. The blood flow was consistent with hold on a second. The position he was currently in. Hold on one second. Sorry, I don't have something that's playing so loud. This was, where was I? The position he was currently in. This was true with the other major wound to his neck. The other unusual thing I noticed about the other wounds to his torso and hands was the fact that they had no blood flow. This would indicate that they were rinsed off with water after his death. Another unusual item visible on the shower floor was a clear plastic cup. The plastic cup was fairly clean with very little blood on it. As we waited for the investigators from the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office, I located a spent shell casing on the floor near the north sink of the bathroom. The spent shell casing was lying in a pool of dried blood and not easily visible. It was a small caliber between a 22 or 32 caliber. The spent casing was photographed and marked for collection. Once collected, the spent shell casing was discovered to be a Winchester 25 caliber. No gun was ever located in the home during the search. Other items of interest in the bathroom besides the casing and bloodstains were multiple hair fibers on the floor and baseboards near the shower. One of these hair fibers in particular was very long and did not appear to be from the victim. These fibers were all photographed and marked for collection. The items in the immediate area surrounding the shower were photographed and collected prior to allowing the medical examiner's office to examine and recover the body. This was done knowing the potential of seeing contamination once the body was moved into those areas. Investigators from the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office arrived to assist with the investigation at 1100 hours. The investigators were S. Seitz and Willitson. Travis's body was removed from the shower after being photographed, which revealed the extent of all of his injuries. He had numerous injuries and trauma to his body, which indicated that he had attempted to defend himself. The initial examination at the scene showed he had injuries consistent with multiple stab wounds to his torso, hands, upper back, and head. The most prominent wound was to his throat, which had been cut almost from ear to ear. The other prominent injury, clearly visible, was to the center of his chest. This wound was clearly visible because of its location and the fact it was still seeping bodily fluids. All of his injuries could not be accurately documented at the scene because of the amount of trauma, dried blood, and decomposition of his body. The OME case assigned was 08-3532. The post was scheduled for Thursday morning, 6/12/08, with Dr. Horn. Travis's body was sealed in a body bag with seal number 0282712. During the search, I noted that Travis's bedding was missing from his bed. A search of the entire bedroom and closets was done, but no bedding was located. A search of the washer and dryer downstairs in the downstairs laundry room revealed Travis's bedding was in the dryer. The reddish stain appearing to be blood on the washer was tested and found to be blood. A sample of that blood was taken for later testing. A digital camera was also found in the washing machine in the downstairs laundry room. The camera appeared as though it had been run through a wash cycle with several articles of clothing in the machine. The camera had severe water damage, but the digital card was intact. Both camera and digital card were seized for evidence so they could be analyzed at a later time by the police computer forensics unit. The clothing found in the washing machine was later identified as Travis's. The clothing consisted of undergarments, sweatpants, shorts, towels, and T-shirts. The camera was later identified as belonging to Travis. The camera appeared to be the same type of camera that Travis's roommate, Zachary, had described. Zachary said he had consulted him on the purchase of the camera just a few months ago. The box and camera bag were also located in the home. The box was in the downstairs office, and the camera bag was located in the upstairs loft near the master bedroom door. Travis's cellular phone was located in the downstairs office of the home. The last outgoing or incoming calls were made at 12:13 hours on June 4th, 2008. There were other incoming calls and text messages into the phone after that, but none were ever answered. A laptop computer identified as belonging to Travis was found in the same office. The Mesa Police Computer Forensic Unit determined the last activity on the laptop was June 4th, 2008 at 16:19 hours. This consisted of email activity. Several items of evidence were collected from the home during the service of the search warrant. Some of those items of evidence included blood samples from DNA typing, fingerprints, hair samples found in the dried blood on the bathroom floor and baseboards. During the search for fingerprints, a lightened print was found at the entrance of the bathroom hall at waist level. The print was in blood and was near several blood swipe marks in the same general area. The section of the wall... Where was I? containing the latent blood print was cut out and seized so it could be analyzed in the controlled environment of the police identification and crime laboratories. For an exact list of the items seized during the search warrant, see the search warrant return forms. Detective L. Barrientos was assigned to document the scene and prepare the search warrant return forms. See her supplemental report for further details. Also, see LP Connor's technical report for details regarding the photographing and collecting of evidence. The search warrant was concluded June 13th, 2008 at 4:30. The home was secured and turned over to Travis's family at that time. Next of kin. We were able to locate Travis's next of kin out of California. I was given information from one of our investigators to contact an Officer Eppel out of Carlsbad, California. I called Officer Eppel at 2:06 on June 10th, and he was able to give me information on Travis's sister, Samantha Turville, who was also a police officer with the Carlsbad Police Department. I informed Officer Eppel of Travis's death and of the ongoing investigation. He stated that they would make the next of kin notification and provide Travis's family with my phone number if they needed more information. First interview with Jodi Arias. On June 10th, 2008, while still at the scene conducting the search warrant, I received another text message that Jodi Arias had called and was waiting for detectives to call her. I broke from the scene temporarily and called her for a telephonic interview. The interview was recorded. Jodi stated that she did know Travis Alexander and had dated him for 5 months. They did have a sexual relationship. They officially broke up on June 29th of 2007, but had stayed friends since then. She was currently in Eureka, California, near the Oregon border, and had not returned to Mesa, Arizona since she moved in early April of this year. The last time she spoke to Travis was on Tuesday, June 4th, 2008, between 2000 and 21:30 hours. They had plans on seeing each other in May of this year, but the trip kept getting postponed. He was supposed to come up and see her last week, but it didn't happen. She had also taken a trip to Utah last week. She mentioned Travis had a Cancun trip scheduled this week, and she had emailed him asking if she could stay at his home while he was gone. The email had gone to Travis on June 7th, 2008, but he never responded. The reason they broke up was because of jealousy. The jealousy went both ways. She found out about Travis's death from a mutual friend named Dan Freeman. Dan had called her late last night on June 9th, 2008 to tell her what was going on. On June 11th, 2008, I met with Travis's brother Greg Alexander and Gary Alexander, brothers. They had traveled from Riverside, California to Mesa after hearing of their brother's death. I provided them with the little information I could at the time without compromising the investigation. They both said they hadn't been very close to Travis ever since he moved to Mesa. They had no idea who could have done this to him. Telephone tip. On June 11, 2008, I received a tip through the Apache Junction Police Department. They had received an anonymous phone call from a female who had stated, "We needed to look at a person named Dustin Thompson as someone who might have information regarding the death of Travis Alexander." The message was short, but they were able to trace the phone number. Utilizing the phone number provided by the HAPD, we were able to get subscriber information on that number, which returned to a cellular phone owned by Dustin Thompson. A records check revealed that Dustin Thompson was married to a female named Ashley Thompson, who worked at the Dillard's Distribution Center located in Gilbert, Arizona. On June 12, 2008, at 3:30, Detective D. Kaufman and I met with Ashley at her work for a brief interview. Ashley had a cell phone with her during the interview. We asked her for her cell phone number and confirmed it was the same number that had called in the tip to the AJPD. We did not confront her about the phone tip because we were still in the process of gathering intelligence on her husband, Dustin. Ashley confirmed that she and Travis were close friends and mentioned that they had known each other for about 3 years. She said her husband also knew Travis, and during the interview she kept referring to her husband, Dustin, as her ex-husband. She explained that they were currently in the process of a divorce and is currently living separately from him. She said that they were having financial issues and it was causing stress in their marriage. Ashley gave us basic information regarding her relationship with Travis, saying that they were just friends and nothing else. The last time she actually saw him or talked with him was at his last UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship party about 3 weeks ago. She said Travis would have UFC parties about every Wednesday where they could watch the fights. She said she tried to call him on Monday, June 9th, but didn't get an answer. She stated that she first heard about Travis's death the day before he was found. The day after he was found, sorry. She heard from another mutual friend named Deanna. Ashley said her husband, Dustin, found out about Travis the first night. When she talked to Dustin, he told her that he found out the first night and went over to see what was going on. Ashley gave us information about her husband, Dustin, including his work address and work schedule. She never mentioned during the entire interview that she was the one who called in with the anonymous phone tip. We finished the interview and asked if we could contact her again if we had any additional questions, and she said that was fine. I received a CD copy of the phone recording from Sergeant Jeff Robertson of the AJPD. The original CD was a copy, and a copy were later placed into Mesa Police evidence. Autopsy. I attended the autopsy on June 12, 2008 at 9:35 a.m. Dr. Horn found that Travis had multiple lacerations and punctures in one gunshot wound. The wounds were listed as follows. 1. 11 punctures to his upper back between his shoulder blades. 2 large lacerations to the top and back of his head. 1 puncture to the back of his neck and ear. 4 punctures and lacerations to the chest. 3 lacerations to the belly. 1 laceration across the throat, which severed the right carotid artery and airway. 4 incised lacerations to the left hand, defensive wounds. 1 incised laceration to the right thumb, defensive wound. 1 single gunshot wound to the right brow, projectile recovered in the left cheek of the victim. Oops, hold on a sec. Okay. What the heck happened here? The lacerations and puncture wounds were consistent with a single-edged weapon at least 5 inches in length. Lack of stippling or gunshot residue or soot around the gunshot wound indicated the gunshot was taken no closer than 2 to 3 feet away. The initial report from Dr. Horn was that the gunshot wound to Travis's head would not have been fatal. The gunshot wound would have possibly disabled him temporarily. The knife wounds to his back did not enter his chest cavity, therefore they were not fatal either. He also had defensive wounds to his hands, tending to show he did attempt to protect himself during the attack. The fatal wounds consisted of a single stab wound to the center of the chest, which punctured his superior vena cava. The wound, along with the final throat slicing, were the cause of death. Manner of death would be listed as homicide. Initial interview with Chris and Skylar Hughes. On June 12, 2008, I conducted a telephonic interview with Travis's closest friend and business partner Chris Hughes and his wife Sky Hughes. Chris stated he last had contact with Travis on Wednesday, June 4th around noon. That was via phone message, text message. Travis had a very important telephone conference on June 4th at 1900 hours, which he missed. Travis was supposed to be hosting the conference call, but no one was able to get a hold of him. The information matched what we found on Travis's phone on the day of the search warrant. The last outgoing text by Travis was to Chris Hughes, and that was the last known contact he had with anyone. They had been scheduled to meet in Cancun, Mexico on June 10th for a prepaid legal seminar/vacation. He tried to contact Travis on several occasions, but cell phone messages were full. Chris figured he was just busy. When en route to Mexico, they heard about what happened and thought of Jodi Arias immediately. They both knew Jodi and Travis very well and stated that Jodi had been extremely obsessed with Travis even after their breakup. They believed she was very capable of doing harm to him. When asked if Travis might have any other enemies, they said he did not. They said Travis was liked by everyone and could not think of anyone else who would do this to him, who would do anything to him. Interview with Clancy Talbot. On June 16, 2008, I returned a phone message left in my office. The phone was from a woman named Clancy Talbot that I received on June 11, 2008. And Clancy said she lived in Salt Lake City, Utah, and saw Jodi Arias during a prepaid legal seminar on June 5, 2008. She stated that Jodi had been in contact with a person by the name of Ryan Burns, while she was on the road from Northern California to Utah for the conference. She mentioned that Ryan had told her during a conversation that Jodi had left California on Tuesday the 3rd of June, but didn't get to Utah until the 5th of June, Thursday. Ryan told her that he had lost contact with Jodi over that 20 hours trip, which Jodi explained by saying she got lost and had pulled over on the side of the road to sleep for a while. Jodi wasn't scheduled to be part of the seminar, but told Ryan that she was just passing through. Clancy said she had heard from other people that Jodi had told them where she was going, and she was going there specifically to see Ryan. People tried to call Jodi while she was on the road, since they were expecting her on Wednesday, but her phone was shut off. When she finally showed up on Thursday, she seemed to be acting a little odd. She thought maybe it was because she was tired or something. Clancy said she was concerned because the trip from Northern California to Salt Lake City only takes about 10 hours or so. She thought maybe Jodi might have taken a trip to Mesa to see Travis beforehand and not told anyone. Clancy also mentioned that Jodi showed up with brown hair, when normally she had blonde hair. I asked Clancy about Travis and Jodi's relationship, but Clancy said that ever since Travis told Jodi he no longer wanted to be with her, she had been very clingy. She described her as acting very fatal attraction. Clancy thought I might need to talk to Ryan about what he knew, so she provided me with his phone number. Interview with Lisa Andrews. On June 16, 2008, I contacted Travis's former girlfriend, Lisa Andrews, via phone. Lisa explained she was Travis's last girlfriend and had begun dating him after he and Jodi had broken up. I asked Lisa about an email she had received after she and Travis both had their tires slashed by an unknown person. She said the tire slashing had occurred back in November or December of 2007 while they were still dating. Travis was at her house late one night, and they had received a knock at the door. They went out and didn't see anyone, and later they discovered that Travis's tires had been slashed. They thought it was possibly just a random act until the very next night when she was over again, and they received another knock at the door. Travis ran out and found his tires had been slashed again. They made a call to the Mesa Police Department for a report, and they waited for officers to respond to take a criminal damage charge. But after several hours of waiting for an officer, they couldn't wait any longer and left. An official report was never taken, but a call for service at the address detailing the reason for the call was documented under incident number. And there's your number. The next day, 12/8/08 at 8:52 hours, Lisa said she received an email from a John Doe. The email was extremely hostile and talks about her relationship with Travis. Lisa saved the email, which she said she was able to send me. The following is an excerpt of that email. We read a lot of this in the book from Juan Martinez. That's why it seems redundant here. You are a shameful whore. Your heavenly Father must be deeply ashamed of your whoredoms you've committed with that insidious man. If you let him stay in your bed one more time, or even sleep under the same roof as him, you will be giving him the appearance of evil. You are driving away the Holy Ghost, and you are wasting your time. You are also compromising your salvation and breaking your baptismal covenants. Of all the commandments to break, committing acts of whoredom is one of the most displeasing in the eyes of the Lord. You cannot be ashamed enough of yourself. You are filthy, and you need to repent and become clean in the eyes of God. Think about your future husband and how you disrespect not only yourself, but him as well as the Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Is that what you want for yourself, your future, your salvation? Your posterity is resting on your choices and actions. You are a daughter of God, and you have been a shameful example. Be thou clean. Sin no more. Heavenly Father loves you and wants you to make the right choices. I know you are strong enough to choose the right. Your Father in heaven is pulling for you. Don't ignore the promptings you receive because they are vital to your spiritual well-being. I wrote to Bob. Lisa said she was never able to prove that Jody was the one who sent this email, but she was the one person that came to mind. I told her I was following several leads in this case, and I wanted to know if anyone besides Jody Arias came to mind as a possible suspect. I asked about anyone else he might have had problems with, or a former roommate of his that might have had it in for him. She did not think anyone else could have done this to Travis, but mentioned I could always look into talking to some of Travis's old roommates. She mentioned the name of one of his old roommates named John Hepworth. She knew Travis and John didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but he did move out suddenly one night without telling Travis about it. John lived with Travis from July or August of 2007 to December of that same year. She knew they didn't get along. But she can't see any reason why he would want to do harm to Travis. Follow-up interviews. On 6/16/08, I contacted Marie Mimi Hall, Dallin Forrest, Michelle Lowry, and asked if they could come down for follow-up interviews and to give fingerprints and DNA samples for exclusionary purposes. They all agreed, and the interviews were scheduled for the evening of 6/17/08. On 6/16/08, I was able to contact Jody Arias via phone. She said she was in town for Travis's memorial service and asked if she had a chance to come in for an interview the following day. I explained to her I had 3 other people coming in on 6/17/08 for interviews and to give fingerprint and DNA samples for exclusionary purposes. She said she was leaving the following day, but would make an attempt to come in for an interview. On 6/17/08 at approximately 1800 hours, Jody Arias, along with Dallin Forrest, Michelle Lowry, and Marie Hall, came to the Mesa Police Headquarters building at 130 North Robson to be voluntarily fingerprinted. They also gave voluntary samples of saliva, buccal swabs for DNA typing. Dallin, Michelle, and Marie all gave follow-up interviews, but Jody stated she no longer wanted to. Jody said she had been talking to a close friend who convinced her that many people had been talking about her involved in Travis's death. After that friend talked to her, she felt uncomfortable talking to me without consulting an attorney first. No interview was done with Jody on that day. No new information was obtained from the interviews with Dallin, Michelle, or Marie. All interviews were recorded and submitted for evidence. On the following day, June 18, 2008, at 1600 hours, Enrique Cortez came in for a follow-up interview. Also in that evening, around the time, were Ashley Thompson and her husband, Dustin Thompson. All 3 agreed to be voluntarily fingerprinted and gave buccal swabs for DNA typing. Enrique Cortez. I conducted the follow-up interview with Enrique, while Detective Kaufman re-interviewed Ashley. I had Enrique go over what was going on at the house the week of June 2nd, and he remembered only 5 people had been in the house that week. The people were Travis, Zachary, Amanda, him, and his girlfriend, Kim. The last time he remembered seeing Travis was on Wednesday, June 4th. He remembered talking to Travis that morning, and he told him that he had a conference call scheduled that day. Travis also told him that he hadn't slept very much, only getting 45 minutes of sleep that night. The last time he thinks he remembered seeing Travis was on Wednesday evening after he got home from work. Enrique said he normally gets home from work at 1800 to 1830 hours, and he remembered Travis on the phone, possibly on a conference call. Wednesday seemed to be the last day things were somewhat normal. Thursday was the first day things seemed a little odd. The morning was normal, but when he got home at about 1800 hours, the front door was locked. This was unusual because Travis normally keeps the door unlocked. He had to gain entry into the home through the garage. He then noticed that downstairs furniture had been moved and pushed off the tile floor. He noticed the floor cleaner was out in the middle of the living room floor. Before that, Travis hadn't finished assembling it. He assumed that Travis was getting ready to clean the tile floor. Enrique said he remembered that he and his girlfriend Kim were going to the temple that evening. Where was I? He just hung out in his bedroom watching television and playing a video game until his girlfriend showed up. And he also remembered his girlfriend Kim saying something about Travis's CTR ring, which was sitting on the kitchen counter. This was unusual because he normally doesn't go anywhere without them. Another unusual thing he noticed was the dog fence that Travis had for his dog Napoleon was on the stairs, restricting access to the upstairs. This was unusual because Travis never restricted his dog's access to any part of the house. The dog was allowed to roam the entire house. When asked if he talked to Zachary that week, he said he remembered talking to him on Saturday, June 7th. Zach had asked him if he had seen Travis that week. Zach was expecting some mail and asked if he knew where the mail key was. Zach also asked him if he had some jumper cables because he was having problems starting his car. Enrique said nothing seemed odd until Sunday when Travis missed church. He just assumed he was out of town or something. Also, both Travis's bedroom and office doors were closed. Okay. All right. Regarding the laundry, Enrique said that he did laundry earlier that week but didn't notice anything odd. I explained that we found certain clothing items such as religious undergarments and other men's clothing. Enrique identified the clothing as belonging to Travis. He said Travis is the only other person in the house that wears religious garments. I asked Enrique if he smelled an unusual smell in the house throughout the week, and he said he first noticed an unusual smell on Monday night at about 21:30 hours when he got home from a church activity. He never asked anyone about it. That night, he was in his room after he took a shower when Zach knocked on his door and notified him that something happened to Travis and the police were on their way. I asked Enrique when he thought this happened to Travis, and he said it was possibly on Thursday while he was at work. Thursday was the day things were moved around downstairs and his ring and his watch were on the kitchen counter. I told Enrique that Travis had missed a scheduled conference call on Wednesday evening that week. Enrique seemed a little confused because he remembered being in the kitchen on Wednesday evening eating when he saw Travis walking downstairs on a phone doing a conference call. Enrique said he could not be certain what day it was that he last saw Travis. Enrique's girlfriend Kim was not interviewed at the time. She was contacted and asked if she would be willing to come in for an official interview. She agreed to give an official statement with enough notice. Ashley Thompson. After his interview with Ashley Thompson, Detective Kaufman briefed me of his findings. He said Ashley did confirm that she was the one who called the AGPD and left the anonymous information about her husband. She explained that she and her husband were having a lot of difficulties and that he was just acting strange during that time. She and Travis were both very close, and she had even asked Travis about moving in with him as a roommate after her separation from her husband Dustin. Both she and Travis agreed it was not a good idea she move in because of the way it might look. They were just good friends, and they didn't want people to think something inappropriate was going on. After Travis was found, she thought about how strange Dustin had been acting. It was during the few weeks leading up to Travis's death that she had moved out to her own apartment, and they were both dealing with the possible foreclosure of their house. Since the day she made the anonymous call, her suspicions of Dustin have gone away. See Detective Kaufman's supplemental report for the full details of the interview with Ashley. Dustin Thompson was not interviewed that day because of time constraints. He did agree to come in on another day for an interview if needed. On June 19th, I gotta get a drink here. Okay. On June 19, 2008, I had both Zachary Billings and his girlfriend, Amanda McBrien, come back in for their follow-up interviews. They also came in to be voluntarily fingerprinted. Amanda gave buccal swabs for DNA typing, and Zach gave buccal swabs the first day he was interviewed. Zachary Billings. On the follow-up interview with Zach, I wanted to pinpoint his schedule on the week of June 2nd, 2008. The following is a breakdown of what he did that week. Monday the 2nd, he was house-sitting for his girlfriend Mandy and her parents, and they were out of town on a cruise. Tuesday the 3rd, he went back home and got ready for work. He went to work at 1500 hours that afternoon. Wednesday the 4th was his day off. He got up and returned the rental car he had been using. His car was repaired after being in an accident. He returned home at about 1500 hours for about an hour before going back to Mandy's house at about 1600 hours. It was either Tuesday or Wednesday that he remembered the furniture being pushed off or moved off the tile and the floor cleaner out. He also remembered the banister had been cleaned. After cleaning Mandy's house on Wednesday, he returned home at 2100 hours. His girlfriend Mandy and her parents were returning the following day from their cruise. The rest of his schedule that week had been covered in his original interview. I asked about the laundry he said he did that week. He was not positive if he had done laundry on Tuesday morning. I explained we had found some clothing in the washing machine, which included some white religious garments. He confirmed that the clothing was either Travis's or Enrique's. He also said that Travis was very neat and would never wash his whites with colors. Zach said nothing seemed unusual that week. He didn't remember anyone at the house and didn't see any unusual cars parked in the neighborhood that week. Enrique's girlfriend was feeding Travis's dog, Napoleon, so he assumed Travis was out of town that week again. On 6/10/08, I was contacted by Detective M. Melendez about images he located on the memory card found in the digital camera, which was found in the washing machine. The digital card had several pictures on it, including some which had been deleted. Detective Melendez recovered these deleted pictures. The deleted pictures were of Travis naked in the shower just before his death. The first one, timestamped 6/4/08/1722 hours. There were several pictures of Travis as he was clearly posing for the camera. The last picture taken of Travis alive was 1730 hours as he was sitting in the shower with his right side exposed to the person taking the pictures. The photo that followed was taken at 1731, which was a photo of the ceiling above the shower. The photo was out of focus, as though the camera was moving at the time it was taken. The next photo was taken at 1733 hours. The photo was dark, and the image was unclear. Once it was enhanced, it was clear that it had been taken with the camera. When it had been taken, the camera was upside down, and possibly by accident. The photo was of a nude male lying on his back with large amounts of blood around his neck and shoulders. The amount of blood is consistent with the type of neck wound Travis sustained. The photo also revealed someone standing over the body, possibly reaching down to move it. The only thing visible of the second person was the person's right pant, leg, and a foot. It appeared as though the person was wearing dark-colored sock or shoe with striped sweatpants, which have a zipper on the back of the cuff. It was difficult to tell the color of the pants the suspect was wearing, but it appeared to be blue. The picture showed this incident, this incident occurred at the north end of the bathroom hall, where the largest amount of blood was located at the scene. The last picture taken also appeared to have been taken by accident. This picture was too dark as well and had to be enhanced. Once enhanced, it was clearly a picture of the bathroom hallway floor and baseboard. The main object was not clearly visible, but it appeared to be covered in blood like a dark liquid substance. The baseboard and floor also had signs of the same colored substance. Detective Melendez stated that there were other unallocated photos on the digital card and that he would have to work on to retrieve. He was able to retrieve these photos, which were time-stamped starting at 6/4/08 at 1340 hours. The first retrieved photo was of Jody Arias lying nude on Travis's bed, posing for a picture. There were 8 pictures total, 6 of Jodi Arias and 2 of the victim, Travis Alexander. All were nude pictures and some in provocative sexual poses. The date and time of these photos is consistent with the date and time of Travis's death. This also indicates Jodi was lying about not seeing Travis since April of 2008. This also proves that Jodi was the last person I can prove had contact with Travis prior to his death. Phone call from Jodi initiating contact. On Saturday, June 21st, 08, I received a call on my cellular phone from Jodi Arias, and the call went directly to voicemail. She did leave a message. She left a message to give her a call back when I had a chance. She left her name and her phone number. On June 24th, 2008, I called Jodi back asking her what I could do for her, and Jodi said she called me on Saturday because she was having a bad day. She mentioned she missed Travis's funeral in Southern California because she got a flat tire on the way to the airport. Another reason for her call was to check on any updates to the case. She also mentioned the fact of wanting to talk to an attorney before giving an official statement. She said she regretted saying that and was now willing to give a statement. I told her it was still up to her if she wanted to give a statement, and Jodi said she was possibly going to Tucson in a few weeks and could possibly stop by to give her statement while on the way. She also said she could give a statement over the phone if needed. She didn't have time to talk this day and asked if we could make an appointment for a telephonic interview that following day. We agreed to talk on the phone for an official interview on 6/25/08 between 10 and 11. Before ending this conversation, I asked her one question. I asked her if she had sent Travis an email about coming down to visit him. She said that she had sent him the email just a week or so before he was found. She said he did not respond, so she assumed he was probably off in California. She was planning on staying in his home while he was away and visiting her friends. She and Travis had an open-door policy and used to let her stay on occasion to watch his dog while he was out of town. She didn't do the trip because her budget didn't allow it at that time. She did, however, take a trip to Southern California and to Utah. At the time of the conversation, she asked how she would go about getting some of her belongings she left at Travis's home. She apparently left some of her clothing behind. She said it wasn't anything very valuable, so she wouldn't bother anyone about it. Follow-up interview with Jodi Arias. On 6/25/08, I contacted Jodi Arias via phone for interview. She stated she left her home in Northern California on Tuesday, June 3rd, en route to Salt Lake City, Utah for a prepaid legal PPL conference. On Wednesday and Thursday of the same week, she said she rented a car in Redding, California, and drove first to Los Angeles area, Monterey, to see a friend. She never met up with a friend and continued on to Utah via Las Vegas, Nevada. When she left Los Angeles, California, her phone battery died and lost all contact with friends waiting for her in Utah. She was finally able to find her cellular phone charger while reaching Las Vegas, Nevada, and finally made contact with her friends. She said she got lost and pulled over to the side of the road to sleep for a while. By the time she finally reached Salt Lake City, Utah, it was late morning on Thursday, 6/5/08. She participated in the last day of the conference, and then she drove back home to Eureka, California late that night. And while in Salt Lake City, she spent time with a person she identified as Ryan Burns. According to Jodi and another source, I spoke to Ryan Burns. Her trip from Eureka to Salt Lake City via Los Angeles, California, and Las Vegas, Nevada took her about 48 hours. I calculated the trip using her route with a stop of 10 hours to rest. This trip should not take any more than 29 hours to complete. A similar trip through Los Angeles, then to Mesa, and back up to Salt Lake City with 10 hours of rest would take approximately 37 hours to drive. That still leaves 10 to 11 hours of additional time for other activities. Interview with Ryan Burns. Hold on a minute, guys. What's going on in the chat? Guys, I can't see the chat, but I'm like seeing like a bunch of stuff happening. Can we just... It's hard. There's no way I can see the chat when I'm doing this, and I hope that like things aren't going crazy. Okay. I called Ryan Burns on 6/25/08 and interviewed him via phone. I had called and spoke to Ryan earlier in the day, but caught him at a bad time. I asked him a few questions about Jody's road trip and told him I would call him later to get more details. The first phone interview with Ryan was done prior to talking to Jody that same day. During the second interview, Ryan confirmed the following. He's only known Jody for a couple of months now. They met in Oklahoma at another PPL seminar. Jody called him and said she left LA, the Monterey area, on Tuesday, June 3rd at about 2300 hours. Her plan was to meet him on Wednesday for the PPL meeting. The trip had been planned for about 2 weeks. She told him that she forgot her phone car charger, so she said she had to turn her phone off to save the battery. At 2300 hours on Wednesday night, she finally called him and said that she had gotten lost and driven in the wrong direction. She also said that she had run out of gas. At the time of the phone call, she said that she was near Las Vegas, Nevada. She told him that she had passed a sign that she was about 100 miles or so from Las Vegas. She finally showed up at 1100 hours on Thursday, June 5th. She stayed in town with him only a few hours. They hung out at the meeting, had dinner with him and other friends, and then they watched a movie at his place. She took a nap and left town at about 2 or 3 hours the next morning. 300 hours the next morning. He wasn't sure what kind of car she was driving at the time. He thinks she was driving a white Ford Focus. He had never seen the car she owned, and he thinks it was possibly a rental car. Jody sent him a text on the next Sunday or Monday night. He called her back, and she told him that Travis had passed away. He knew about Travis because she had mentioned him several times in the past. After Travis was found, a lot of mutual friends in Utah were pointing fingers at Jody as being responsible for his death. Another rumor circulating was that Travis had been shot with a .25 caliber handgun. He also heard that there was a struggle, possibly involving 1 or 2 people, and he was both shot and stabbed. Forensic evidence results. On June 26, 2008, I received a call from the Mesa Police Identification Section. I spoke to the senior print analyst H. Baxter, who informed me that the latent print left on the bathroom wall in blood had been identified. She had individualized the latent print to Jody Arias' left palm. This was conclusive evidence that Jody was present at the time of Travis's death. The print was left by Jody touching the wall with a bloody left hand. Okay, bloody left hand. On July 3rd, 2008, the Mesa Police Crime Lab contacted me with some initial DNA typing results. The initial results of the DNA test surrounding the bloody palm print indicated it was in fact blood. The DNA typing indicated it was a mixture of DNA from 2 individuals. One was from the victim, Travis, and the other was from Jody Arias. A long hair found in the same hallway stuck to the wall with blood was also identified as Jody's. The long hair was identified as number 6 on the search warrant returns. Forensic chemist J. Legg submitted the final report detailing these findings on August 5, 2008. See her Forensic Services report for all the details. Investigation continued. Kevin. Okay, so that's the end of that one now. So okay, so what's going on in the chat? Why is everybody losing their stuff? Hi Flo, hi LMNW, Irene, Kubi, Nightbot. Right, I have to go get another piece of evidence here. Documentation. I can't see the chat now, so let's see. That was Detective Flores's oh my gosh, I can't talk tonight. Detective Flores' investigation report. Okay, and then there was a motion to allow the jury to consider polygraph results. That was in July. And then there was a motion denying the jury to consider polygraph results, and that was July 13th of 2012. 2012, remember. 4 years after, over 4 years after. Then there was, in 2013, motion to compel business records from Walmart and Tesoro. Defendant's motion for a protective order. Defendant's motion for a protective order ruling. There was a motion for a mistrial. Okay, and March 31st of 2013. Then there was a motion for a mistrial prosecutorial misconduct 4/7/2013. This was during the first trial. Then they had final jury instructions. And then they had, okay, so let's go to something else now first. I want to go to a letter. It's pretty interesting. This is a letter. She wrote very, very small, okay? Because she didn't have a lot of paper, and she would just write, and she would write on the sides of things and the sides of magazines too, if I remember correctly. So this was written April 24th, 2015. Hi, everyone. I hope all is well. I'm getting settled in, but I'm still being processed. The day I arrived, everyone was very professional and efficient. My mom said I looked tired in my doc photos, Department of Correction photos. Someone else said I looked sad. I was neither. What happened was they told me where to stand and where to look at the cam. Right then, someone flipped on 3 bright halogen lights. It was like trying to stare at the sun. Or God, LOL. I was trying hard not to squint too much. Now I understand why Debbie Milky was squinting in her DOC photo. Nothing prepares the eyes for that flood of brightness. Then I was taken to CDU, the complex detention unit, and placed on watch, suicide watch, that is, not for mental health reasons. I was told since I wasn't suicidal, but for security reasons, whatever that means. After a week, I was brought over to Lumley. I was not put in Debbie's old cell. Lots of people thought so. Even I thought that's where I was going. I'm a few doors down. My cell is not blue, as many have thought. Further validation that you just can't trust the media. My cell is freshly painted. White walls, gray desk and shelving. Unfinished concrete floor, still smells like paint. New, in other words. It feels clean. This place is teeming with little animals. Lots of different birds and prairie dogs. At least that's what everyone calls them running around. The prairie dogs are adorable. They look like a cross between a squirrel and a gopher. I saw one take off with a chunk of bologna the other day. Yep, there's bologna here. I also saw some officers dropping some poisonous pellets in their dens. Population control, I guess. I won't go on too much about the food. It's a major improvement from my last location. Everyone says how awful the food is at Maricopa County, so I think, at MCSO is. I didn't think so. It's just bland. My only complaint was that it's not sustainable for long-term inmates. It was all sugar and starch, which is soon to be sugar. In the morning, I called it the diabetes-inducing diet. At night, we were served lots of soy protein, which Arpaio thinks is healthy, but which studies show otherwise. I'm glad to now have a healthier, more wholesome, well-rounded diet. I'm currently segregated. Still, I've seen many familiar faces since arriving. Having been at Estrella for 6.5 years, I've seen many people go before me. Everyone's been kind, respectful, and warm. I've gotten some interesting feedback on my sentencing. Most of it is very supportive, even congratulatory. The general consensus that I'm getting is that people are glad I stuck up for myself. One girl said, "I have lady balls, LOL." One guy said what I said was way overboard. I'm sure it made some of my friends uncomfortable and maybe even disappointed some of you. While that wasn't my intention, I have to say I only wish I would have said more, not less. For example, I wish I would have stuck up for juror number 17 after you-know-who threw her under the bus, because we all know that there was not just one tainted juror. There were 11. I owe my life to number 17, and the least I could have done was stick up for her. But much of what I said was on the fly. It wasn't prepared. I had only intended to apologize and declare my commitment to pay restitution, even though I wasn't the one who forced everyone to trial twice. No, of course, I wasn't going to say that part. But Bryce was right about what he posted later that day. My statement was not an appeal for leniency. God himself could have parted the heavens and commanded the judge to be lenient. She would have disobeyed him. So after 2 trials with a corrupt prosecutor, then having to listen to more lies and distortions of facts from the TA camp at sentencing, well, my high tolerance for BS had simply reached its maximum capacity. I consulted with my legal team and they gave their blessing. They said, "Do it. You know, she's going to give you natural life today. You have nothing to lose." So I spoke my mind. Like I said, my only regret is that I didn't say more. If you wrote a letter to the judge, thank you. It's probably not something one does very often. The judge took 10 minutes to read almost 30 letters, which doesn't include the 75 feet or so of travel time from the bench to the chambers and back. I've gotten lots of mail. I'm not able to buy envelopes and paper yet, so don't give up on me if you don't hear back for a little while. I don't know how long they'll keep me in limbo. If you wrote the first week and I received it, you'll be getting a mini note from me. Thank you all so much. I'm really not worthy. Your love, support, friendship are precious to me. Deep, deep gratitude for each of you. Jody Arias. P.S. Lots of people have written expressing concern about sending photos and putting me over my limit. Don't worry about that. Let me manage my photos. Send away. Okay, let's see here now. Now let's go to. Where do I want to go here? Okay, and this, let me see when this is from. So this was Jody's Christmas message. She posted a message this last December, December 2021, and this is what it says. Hi, everyone. We don't need the new year to refocus our goals and aspirations, but it's always a great reminder to do just that. A friend of mine asked me about around this time last year, "What do you want to accomplish in 2021? Off the cuff, I answered, "I want to write a book." She said, "Me too, let's do it." And then neither of us did. Instead, I decided to take another college course, thinking I could work on that and write a book and hold down a job and churn out beautiful art. And I told another friend in a celebratory tone, Degree, here I come. But the course taught me something I did not expect to learn about myself, and I don't want a degree that badly. I'm glad to be finishing with a 4.0, and I'll be glad to soon have it behind me, but I think I hated it. I'll definitely not be taking any more courses in the near future. As for the book, I probably won't get around to writing. Of the few people with whom I've shared my idea, one was a naysaying nag, and the rest had really big reactions. So let me just stern any excitement about this tentative project. I will not be publishing this book in my name. I will probably not promote it as one I have written, and it would be a very niche notification topic that would draw a small audience of readers, if any. The goal is not to sell copies. I just want to get it written because when I went looking for this exact kind of book just over a year ago, it didn't seem to exist. Enough of that. I want to wish everyone a safe and happy Christmas, or whatever you might be celebrating, and a very happy New Year. Thank you for your warm love, your undeserved kindness, and your steadfast support. Much love and gratitude always, Jodi Arias. Now there is a site which is called artbyjodiarias.com, and that's Jodi's personal efforts to raise money for her appeals, and that's through the production of her art, which is sold by artbyjodiarias.com. Her art administration supports her efforts by running this side hustle of sorts on her behalf and taking none of the funds. The time and effort that he devotes to this process, filing the taxes, to the post office every week to ship art, are an invaluable contribution. Let's see here. And here was her Thanksgiving message from this year. Hi, everyone. SJ has allowed me to utilize this platform to say Happy Thanksgiving and tell you how grateful I am for your continued support. For those outside the U.S., Thanksgiving is celebrated here in November. Canadian Thanksgiving comes a little earlier in the fall. A lot of people ask me what this holiday is like in Perryville. It's really just another day, except we get 2 meals instead of 3. This is unfortunate for some who can't afford their own food, but since one of those meals usually involves turkey and pumpkin pie, most people are cool with it. I'm grateful that so many amazing people have stood by me through what would otherwise surely be a lonely nightmare. You have enriched my life in many ways I can never repay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I would like to share this quote that I came across, attributed to Helen Keller, who puts it much more eloquently than I ever could. My friends have made the story of my life in 1,000 ways. They have turned my limitations into beautiful privileges and enabled me to walk serene and happy in the shadow cast by my deprivation. Much love and gratitude to you all, Jodi. Okay, so let me go to something else here now. We were in the middle of something last night, which we're going to go back to. Is this the one? Let me see here. I believe this is this. We were in the middle of that testimony. I didn't forget about it. Okay, I'm just trying to get where we were. They talked about how they were in Ehrenberg, whatever, however you say that. Talked about him sending a picture of his genitalia. Remember that yesterday? They talked about her looking at the photo when she was at dinner with friends. this the one that we were at, or was the other one? Hold on. No, that one we finished. Let me see. We were on the secret meeting one. The secret meeting. Got 3 on our secret meeting one. Hold on, I can't see the chat, so I hope everybody's behaving. Okay. Okay, we're at the secret testimony. I think that's where we were. So let me go pull that back. I don't know if did we go through the secret testimony all the way? I know we were in the middle of something. I said, I'm falling asleep, guys. Michelle told him I had a boyfriend. Yeah, we got through that. You're on the elevator. We went through that. So from time to time, you leave the convention. Mr. Alexander again, change between you and Mr. Brewer. We went through that. Okay, and you drive from there. I think it's like an hour. Palm Desert. He leaves his engine running with the air conditioner on. We saw that. Okay, so when you were not having sexual contact, what kind of romantic things were you doing? Nothing romantic. Okay, the restaurant, to your understanding, what time was that? On the record, I've received. We approach. I think we finished this. Did we finish this then? They're granting the stay request. Yeah, there was nothing else from her there, so I think we did finish that part of it then. I don't know where we. Okay, we're done with this thing. See what this is. That was the plea bargain. We did that. Okay. Let's see. Back to the court documents. Sealed testimony. Okay, let's see. There's 2 things of sealed testimony, so let's see if we did both of them. The other one was 144 pages. Let me see if we did that one. I know there was one that we had a few more pages and I just couldn't. Yeah, I think this was the one that we were reading as told about. Let me see. It's taking forever to advance the pages here. When you moved in with Matt's family. Probably didn't want to. Are you working at Applebee's? You and Matt moved in together. Okay, yeah, this is where we didn't finish this. I found it now. Okay, so let me just find it where we were. Oh yeah, we have a lot to read here. Wow. Carl's Jr. Now I'm getting hungry. Bobby. Mr. Juarez. Okay, I think is that a picture of you and Mr. Juarez? Juarez. Family life and glades start to drop. The time you're hanging out in your house and you talked about junior year and how things started to slide. Hold on. Oh yeah, when she didn't want to break up with someone on the phone, right? It is something I think I knew he loved me. It was difficult. I heard him crying on the other end of the line. This is about Juarez. I heard him crying. After you broke up with Victor Arias, did you end up meeting or had you been friends with Mr. Juarez after you broke up? Yes, we can. Okay, blah, 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 blah. I think it was 19 when that was taken. Okay, we went through that. Okay, at home, yes, that would happen. Well, things had just gotten to a point where I didn't want to live there anymore. Bobby and I began to make plans to move in with him, with his parents, godparents. When you say parents, godparents, what do you mean? She said they were an elderly couple. I believe they were his grandparents, like biologically, but he called them mom and dad. We went through that. And then, let's see, you and Bobby started making plans for you to go move in with him. Yeah, she slowly tried to pack up things. We got through that. Okay. Her mom was in the kitchen when she told her. And I just at the fort took a... Okay, so when she left, they asked about, we went through that. Did they do anything to stop you? No. Did they come over to Bobby's house and pack your things up and make you come back? No. Did they try to convince you to come back? No. After you moved your stuff into Bobby's house, grandparents' house, did you go to school? I did that day, yeah. We went through all this. I think we're right here. I think this is where we were, right? Does anybody remember this? So this is the end of your junior year or the beginning of the end of your junior year, right? Pretty much. Things were already getting difficult, but I think that was sort of a turning point where things really began to go south, where I couldn't salvage my grades anymore at that point. And during this time, hold on, let me put this over here so you guys can read along. And during this time you live with Bobby, that's when you think you were working at a couple of different places? Yes. And what about Bobby? Was he working? No, he never had a job. And so where was your money going? Well, eventually it was going to him and I. We were living. It was kind of a 50-50 team. Were you helping to support him? Yeah, food, clothes, that sort of thing. About you, you guys had a house to live in? We did. Can you describe for us the house? What was the house like that you moved in with Bobby? Well, you could sort of see it in this picture. It was not in very good shape. It was very dirty. I'm sorry, it was what? Dirty. The front room had, I think, cigarette tar running down the walls in brown. There was a lot of dusty junk piled up everywhere. The carpet was like threadbare. The kitchen linoleum was peeling off. It was just really in bad shape. Yet, did you stay there? I did. What was the relationship like with Bobby at this point? It was all right. I thought. You thought? Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a lot of drama or anything like that. We got along. I don't know. It was all right. Was there a certain point in time when you broke up? Yes. About when did that happen? I think that was in May. I broke up with him. Where's Lisa Nia Trace? She gave me that clock. Every time it rings, I think of her. May of 1998? Yes. What happened when you broke up with him? I found out that he was cheating on me, so I broke up with him. Can you speak up a little bit, Jody? I'm sorry, I found out that he was seeing someone else, so I broke up with him. How did you find that out? Well, he had been talking with this woman for a while on the phone, and she was out of state, but they spoke very frequently. My understanding was that he had an interest in her previously, but they were just friends now. And these things he would tell you? Yes, So I saw them talk, and friendship is fine, so I didn't think much about it. I kind of had a weird feeling. We would go to the public library to check our emails. Let me stop you there. So back in the day, 1998, this was 1998, did you have a computer in the house? No computer, no cell phone, nothing like that. You had email? Yes. You said you had to check your email at the public library? Right. Did you both go and do that? Right. What happened? We would go to sometimes we would just go either use a terminal, or if the terminals were being used, we would each take turns using the same terminal. We would check our emails right in front of each other. It didn't seem like he was hiding anything, and I would see emails in his inbox from her. Wait, you would see emails in his inbox from who? From this woman. This woman that he was supposedly just friends with? Yes, right. I never read any of them. He never read any in front of me. Just the way he spoke to her seemed a little bit more than just friends. How did you hear him speak to her? He was very sweet to her. He laughed a lot. How is it that you would hear him? He would speak on the phone when I was home. It seemed like when they were on the phone, it was like their own world. You could just tell, He seemed kind of tune everything out. Not in a bad way, more like in a way that you could see that someone had feelings for someone, almost in a love kind of feeling. How did that make you feel? It was uncomfortable. I took his word for it at first, but it was uncomfortable. What happened during the time you broke up with him? The day we checked our emails, I was headed to the Purple Plum to work, and before going there, I dropped him off at his friend's house so we could hang out there. He didn't have a car. Sorry to interrupt you. What is the Purple Plum? I'm sorry, that's the restaurant I was working at the time. You were headed to the Purple Plum to work, and you were dropping Bobby off where? At his friend's house. What happens? Well, my feeling was very strong by that point, so I decided I wanted to check. So I went back to the library and I checked his emails that he had been writing her, the ones that he had sent her, and they were very loving. They were more than friends, clearly, so what did you do? I printed them all out. I drove to the house we were living in. I packed up all my things. I threw them in my trunk. I asked my grandma if I could stay with her. She said yes, and then I drove. I called in sick for work. I was sad. I was upset. I drove back to the friend's house where Bobby was, and I pulled him aside so we could talk privately, and I handed him the letters and showed him. When you pulled him aside, did you yell at him? No, I didn't say anything. I just handed them to him. You didn't say anything to him? No. You just handed him the letters? Right. Okay, and what was his reaction? He seemed very shocked. Okay. He asked if she had sent them to me. He thought that she told on him? Yes. Objection, speculation, lack of foundation. How? Sustained. He asked you if she sent them to you? Objection, leading. Overruled. Yes, that was his first question. What happened between the two of you? At some point, he wanted to leave the house. He said, let's go somewhere so we can talk. We drove back to his house and I don't know, let me ask you this. How did you feel when you discovered that he was cheating on you? I felt awful. It was very hurtful. I felt deceived, of course, and I felt really hurt. He was very sweet and loving towards her. He treated her better than I thought he was treating me. At this point in time, had you been dating him for approximately how long? I think at that point it would have been roughly 5 months, maybe 4. And you were living with him? Yes. So when you go back to his house, did he notice that all your things were gone? Yeah. He saw the closet area where all my clothes were hanging was empty and some of my belongings were out of the spaces. How did that go? He got upset. He said it made him sick to his stomach to see that I moved everything out. He felt really bad. He apologized. Did you still move out? I can't remember if I stayed at my grandma's for 1 or 2 nights, but I did move out, but I was right back in the house again. Is that you landed right back in the house again? He had promised he would not talk to her anymore. There was nothing going on between them. He cared about me, he loved me, he won't talk to her, that sort of thing. He was very apologetic, and I believed he was sincere. Did you accept his apology then? Yes. Did you believe his apologies? I did. When you moved back in, what was your relationship like that after that? At that point, it wasn't that great. I mean, it just seemed to get emotionally more chaotic. There was turmoil as far as that goes. Turmoil between the two of you? Yeah. Emotionally, like he was a little more upset all the time. I can't really describe it. He would kind of play mind games. Was your relationship rocky after that? Yeah, it wasn't super rocky, but it got rockier as time went on. What? When you stayed with him after you came back? Why did you do that? You mean, why did I continue to stay? Right. I loved him. In fact, I was in love with him, and he told me he loved me. So we were two people that love each other. We were young, but we loved each other. I figured we could work through our problems. That's how I thought. Is that what you were trying to do? Uh-huh. Is that a yes? Yes. Now, at this point in time, where are you working? I believe I was still at the Purple Plum. Okay. And you were serving there? No, I was bussing tables. I wasn't 18 yet, so I couldn't wait tables. And what about Bobby? Was he working yet? No, he didn't have a job. Was your money still going to support the two of you? Yes. Is there a point in time when you broke up with him again? There were several times when we broke up and then made up and broke up and got back together, so yeah. And did you maintain your job at the Purple Plum? No. At one point, I decided to move to Chico, California, which is just north of Sacramento. That didn't work well. That didn't work out, so I was right back. At that time, tell us, what was happening between you and Bobby when you decided to move to Chico? Okay. Bobby and I don't remember exact timelines. Somehow he decided again he wanted to try to work things out with the other girl. She bought a Greyhound ticket and came into town and stayed with him, and I was out of there. You moved out? Oh, yeah. I moved out before she got there. Okay. I went to Chico and I stayed with some friends there to see if that's where I wanted to live there and maybe get an apartment and work. And I came back to Eureka briefly for more of my stuff or to visit family. I can't remember. I was only gone about 4 days and I came back. And let's see, I don't remember how Bobby and I reconnected, but we went to Carl's Jr. And he takes my hand and he says, I just know things are going to work out between us. And that was very shocking to me because I thought he was trying to be with this other girl. So did you see a pattern with him as far as when he wanted you and when he didn't want you? Yeah, I did. What did you see? And I should ask you this. When is it that you saw this pattern? Did you see it when you two were involved with him or later? Well, looking back, I see it was a pattern almost from the beginning, but I didn't notice it until later being later in the relationship. It seemed like when he had somebody there to provide for him, he didn't need me or want me, but when someone wasn't there or he needed clothes, he was like trying to make the relationship work. And when he tried to make the relationship work, is that when you went along? Is that you went along with? Yes, I did. You said you broke up and got back together several different times? Right. Was there a time when you broke up with him completely? Yes. And approximately when is this? That was late 1919. So late 1919, you would have been 19? Yes. Is that close in time to when you think this picture is? Probably. That could have easily been in 1919. You're not sure? I'm not 100% sure if it was 1998 or 1990. Okay, what happened when you were working at that point? I began to work in Denny's in August of 1998. I believe it was August. Denny's? Where? Eureka. What were you doing? Waiting tables. So now you were 18? Right. You said in August of 1998, that's when you started working in Denny's? Yes. And you were making pretty decent money there? I thought I was, yeah. It was the most I had been making since I started working in that field. Again, where was your money going when you... Living expenses, I had a few bills now. I had a little credit card to build my credit, gas, insurance, food, clothes. Do you still have your own car? Yes, and that was constantly needing repair. It was a junker kind of. At this point in time, are you still living with Bobby? Yes. Is there a certain point you move out from him? Yes, about a year later. Well, we were together close to 2 years, and then I think it was late 1999. We were no longer living together. When you were no longer living together, is that when you were still working at Denny's? Yes, I was still working at Denny's until late 1919. So what happens around this time? Is a breakup? Yes. What happens? There was a breakup. At Denny's, I built up vacation time, so I decided to use that. I went back to Costa Rica to heal from my breakup, just to get away from everything, so I spent 8 days there with the family. Victor had moved out and moved on. He was doing other things. I was with the family and hanging out and trying to heal. Go to the beach and... Let me ask you. Sorry? You said a lot in that. You were working at Denny's and you were able to save money to go to Costa Rica? Yes. And you said that was where Victor Arias... You said that... Where was Victor Arias at that point? He moved out and had gotten his own apartment. Were you going to visit him? No, I was going to see my exchange family. Your exchange family, all right. Did you go to kind of clear your head? Yes. And what were you thinking about when you say clear your head? What were you thinking about? Well, there was a lot of pain in that relationship and things we had been through. It was kind of processing. It was meditative in a way. There wasn't a whole lot of activity like when I was 17. We went to all the tourist spots. It was more educational. This was more relaxing. Okay. So what happened? So you come back from Costa Rica, yes. Did you make a decision about your relationship with Bobby? Yes, we were broken up. Did you intend to keep it that way? Yes. I had not planned to contact him. What happened? I came back to work at Denny's where I was working, and I was just working my shift. I went in the back for something. I came back out. There were counters in the front where the swinging door is from the back. And when I came out, he was sitting right on the first seat there with his puppy dog look on his face, like his head in his hands kind of thing. Was he just waiting for you? Yeah. Did you end up speaking with him? Yeah. And how did that conversation go? It was emotional. I was coming up on my break, so he waited and we left the building and we went outside to the parking lot to my car to talk, and there were tears, and he missed me and I missed him, I guess. So we ended up... I don't know that we actually got back together. This was very much towards the end, but we continued to see each other. At this point in time, where were you living? I believe I was with my grandma at that point. Yeah, I was living with my grandma. Other than this back and forth with you and Bobby, was there ever a point in time when he was actually physical with you? Yes, one time. And as far as when we are talking timeline, when does that happen? This was also late 1919. I don't recall the exact month, but it might have been around October, and I was at my friend's house. I forgot. I was living at this girl's house, just staying there. I stayed there a few months. So at this point, I'm at her house, and this is in Montauk as well. And he was over there, visiting. There was no one else home, just him and I. We got into an argument. What happened in the argument? The argument? Was he yelling? He was yelling. He was very dramatic. He is very emotionally deep. He was just being himself, and we were arguing. And he approached me, and he spun me around, and he got me in a chokehold. He had his arm under your throat? I think both arms. I don't really know how to do a chokehold, but he does. So he did that. Why does he know how to do a chokehold? Oh, he was in martial arts and that sort of thing. You said he came up on you and he spun you around? Yes. He just took my shoulders and spun me around so my back was to him. What were you expecting? Do you remember? Do you have a memory of what you thought was going to happen when he spun you around? Yeah, I mean, we had made up after arguments before, and he was nice. He had never been physical with me before, so I was thinking he was just going to hug me or something, instead he choked me. What happened when he choked you? Do you remember it? Yeah, he squeezed really hard, and he let go. And I fell to my knees, very lightheaded. I almost passed out, but I didn't. What was going through your head at that point in time? I was kind of mad. I thought, you just choked me. I was a little bit mad. I was stunned. He had never done that before, so I turned around and followed him out of the living room and said something like, I don't remember what I said, something to the effect that my family would be very upset if they knew what you just did. It wasn't that, but it was, Jody, let me ask you this. He just choked you and you followed him out? Well, we were in his house. The living room is right outside the bedroom, so he went to the living room and I went to the living room. So then what happens? At that point, he approached me again and he got me into some kind of hold. I don't remember how it was, but he had my arm and he was placing pressure on my forearm, and it seemed his intention was to break it because of the pressure that he was placing. Right, the way he was holding it, the way he was putting the pressure on it. At this point in time, do you remember what was going on through your head? Well, the phone was not 5 or 6 feet away, so that was my intention. What did you do? I somehow squirmed over to the phone and I managed to grab it. We were both trying to grab it. I grabbed it and I turned it on and I called 911. Is this a cell phone or a home phone? Oh, a portable home phone. Okay. He grabbed the phone from me and he hung it up. Okay. Did they ever call back? Yeah. He was telling me to shut up because at that point I was crying. He kept telling me to shut up because he said they were going to call back. Maybe a few seconds later, a minute, not even a minute later, the phone rang and he answered it and he talked to the operator and he told her everything was fine and it was just a mistake. Do you know if the police ever showed up? I don't. We left. I was going to say, why don't you know? Yeah, we left. We were leaving. He didn't have a ride, so I took him where he needed to go. After all this, you took him, you just didn't leave him? I don't know exactly. I know he left and we both left. I'm sorry. He may have walked away or he may have gotten in my car with me. I don't remember. But did you stay in the house? No, not that time. You said this was a house, a friend's house that you had just been staying in at briefly? Right. Did you have any idea what the address was? No, I didn't get any mail there. And after you were arrested and this case was pending, did you have any idea what the address was? No, I could drive to the house. I know where it is, but I don't know where the address is, and you don't know. You didn't have the actual physical address of it, right? No, I don't. After this happens with Bobby, did you tell anybody? Yes, I did. Who did you tell? I told my parents. And okay, and anybody else? Well, after you told your parents, did anyone else find out? Yes. Who? I guess they told my brother Carl. Why do you guess that? Because he got a little gang of his friends and they went over to Bobby's house and they confronted him. Carl and a little gang of his friends? Was that one of his friends named Kellen? Kellen? Yes. Do you know Kellen? I did know him, not very well, but I knew he was a friend of my brother's. And did Kellen, when he was in high school, when you were... Right, he was a grade younger, a grade below me and mine and my brother. My brother was only 1 grade below me, so they were in the same grade. So your brother Carl and Kellen, were they there? Were there other boys involved that you knew of? There were other boys involved, to my understanding. What did they do? Objection, lack of foundation, to my understanding. How does she know? Sustained. What did they do? They went to... Same objection, lack of foundation. Her answer was not in relation to the question. Overruled, you may answer. They went to Bobby's house. Objection. Foundation. They went to Bobby's house. Sustained. Judge, may we approach the court? Yes, you may. Actually, we're going to take the afternoon recess. Please be back. Okay. Mr. Martinez, she is narrating something. I want to know how she knows. I can ask how she knows, says her lawyer. The court, correct. Let's take up the issue of the transcript of the hearing conducted in chambers. The attorney for the press has requested it. Thinking about it, my suggestion is that I enter an order that the transcript be prepared under seal and provided directly to the Court of Appeals in the event that there is a special action filed, so it would not go to anyone other than the Court of Appeals. Martinez says, well, I think that involves a third party that should probably be heard on this issue. If that is the ruling and this goes to the Court of Appeals, someone should probably tell their lawyer that's where it is. The court says, right, I told the lawyer for the media that I needed to speak to you to get any objection to providing the transcript. Martinez says, no, I have no objection to the transcript being provided. Mr. Nurmi says, not to the Court of Appeals. Obviously, our concern is it getting out to the media in any way, shape, or form, so the attorneys for KPNX to be instructed it is under seal and only being created for the limited purposes of a special action. The court, okay, so Randy, you want to go out and see if the attorney is still out in the hallway. Judge, may Ms. Arias step down? Yes, you may step down. Okay, let's see here. So they take a short break. The court let the record show the presence of the jury. So now, let's see. Jody, when we took a break, we were talking about what happened after Bobby choked you and what your brother did. Right. How are you aware whether or not your brother did anything after that? Yes. How are you aware of that? One of my family members told me. I think it might have been my parents, and also Bobby told me. Bobby told you later? Right. Why is it that you learned that happened? My brother and a group of his friends confronted him. They went to his house, they knocked on his door, and they went out there and confronted him. And when they confronted him, did they beat him up or what happened? I don't know dialogue or anything, but their intention was to go there to intimidate him somehow. Is that because of what he did to you? Yes, right. And what do you know based on what Bobby told you what he did? Yes. What did Bobby do? He got a sword, and he knows how to wield it. So he came out there and he started swinging it around and scared him off. Okay, at this point in time in your relationship, how did you feel about your relationship after that? Well, at this time, there is around the time that the whole relationship just began to fall apart for good, not permanently yet, but it was coming close to that point. And what did you do about that? How is it that it fell apart? Well, there was this incident. I did go to Costa Rica to heal from things, and I ended up moving to Santa Maria to sort of get away from everything. When you say you moved to Santa Maria, tell us again. This is from Eureka to Santa Maria? Yes, back to Santa Maria. About how far is that? I'm guessing about 600 miles. I just know it takes all day to drive. When you moved to Santa Maria, who did you stay with? I stayed with a friend of mine. I had made friends down there, and what did you do when you were down there? I got a job and I began working. Where'd you get a job at? Applebee's. And during this time, did Bobby contact you at all? Yeah, he continued to contact me. Was that by phone? Right, by phone. Did he ever come visit you? Yes, he did come to Santa Maria with me at one time. And did you consider yourselves dating him anymore? We were still dating. I don't know where we were going, but we were still seeing each other. And if you were still dating, why did you move to Santa Maria? Well, like I said, we were constantly breaking up and getting back together and breaking up. He would always say it was over. If it is over, and he would call me back again. He would apologize or whatever. He was dramatic. All right, so about how long did you stay in Santa Maria? How long? Only like 2 months. Okay, what happened to Bobby during those 2 months? He ended up moving to Medford, Oregon, which is about 50 miles north of Eureka. 50 miles north of Eureka? Yes. Okay, and when he moved to Medford, where was he living? Just generally. he started living with a friend that he had reconnected with. At this point, did Bobby finally get a job? He finally managed to get a job. So he was working in Medford then. Yes, he was. During this time, you said that you were still in contact with him, right? At a certain point, did you leave Santa Maria? Yes. Why is that? It was harder than I thought it was going to be financially, so I moved back to Eureka to be with my grandma. I wasn't in Santa Maria very long. You said you moved in with your grandma? Right. Why not move in with your parents? I didn't want to go back to that environment. My parents and I were getting along better now that we weren't interacting so much. Our relationship improved somewhat after I moved out. When you didn't have constant contact with them? Right. When I wasn't living with them under the same roof, seeing them all the time under their rules. They were nicer and I just didn't have, I don't know. It was just better between us. Everything improved when I moved out. When you came back to Eureka, is that why you moved in with your grandma? Right. And my grandmother and I have always gotten along. Right. Okay. Was your grandfather still alive at the time? Yeah, both of my grandparents were there. All right. And what did you do? How long did you stay in Eureka? Well, not long. Okay. I don't remember exactly. You don't remember exactly? Yeah, I was there during the holidays, but I may have just been there for the holidays. I wasn't there long. And at this point in time, is Bobby still contacting you? Yes, we're still hanging out. And because of that, do you know who his roommate is? Yes. Did you get to know his roommate? I did. Did you become friends with his roommate? Yes. What was his roommate's name? His name was Matt McCartney. And Matt McCartney, the roommate, did he have family in Eureka? He did. And because of meeting with Mr. McCartney, did you also meet his family? Yes. And at the time, are you living at your grandparents' house still? For a brief time, and then I moved, so the time that you're living at your grandparents' house, did you also see Mr. McCartney's family? Right. I befriended his sister and her children. And at some point in time, you said you moved from Eureka. Where did you go? I moved in with Matt's family also. He had family all along that whole interstate area from Eureka to Medford, and he had family. I moved in with his family. And why did you do that? Well, in the area where there are more cities, there are more job opportunities, and also I wasn't able to, I was hired right away at Applebee's in Medford because I had prior experience with that company. So when you moved in with Matt's family, where are we talking about? Actually in Medford? It is in a city, Phoenix, Oregon. Phoenix, Oregon? Right. Where is Phoenix, Oregon in comparison to Medford? I would say 15, well, probably 10 miles south maybe. And what was the point of you moving in with Matt's family? Well, there was no rent. They took me in to get on my feet so I could get a job and be in the area where there were jobs available. Were there more jobs available in Medford than in Eureka? Oh, much more. And in the industry I was in there, more money to be made than in Eureka. So you began working in Applebee's in Medford? Yes. All right. At a certain point, did you and Bobby stop contacting? Did he stop contacting you? Yes, he did. At one point did this happen? I don't remember the exact date. It was 1999. The sword was mine. So I just remember he liked and held on to it. But then one day he put them out on the porch where he was living and he gave them to me. Didn't say a word. He just shut the door. That was it. Matt couldn't explain his behavior. He didn't want to talk to me. Bobby didn't want to talk to you? Right. I thought that was the end of it. We ended up talking one last time. At that point, I can't remember how we had our last contact. I don't remember. That was it. It was pretty much towards the end. It was pretty much over. It was done, yeah. We weren't... Did Bobby eventually move away from Matt? I think they moved out of the studio apartment that they were sharing at the time. They found separate places. In the meantime, are you friends with Matt? Yes. Are you still friends with his family? Right. And are you still staying with his family in Phoenix? Yes. Are you still working at Applebee's at this time? Yes. At a certain point in time, did you and Matt become involved in a relationship? Yeah, later on we did. When you say later on, what do you mean? Well, not too later on. I would say a few months later we were seeing each other. A few months later? Right. And a few months later, then what? Gosh, a few months later after Bobby and I stopped communicating. Okay, and at the time that you and Matt had started in the dating relationship, how long had you been friends then? I would say maybe 3 or 4 months. And then you start this dating relationship. Yes. Are you still working at Applebee's in Medford? Yes. Did you and Matt move in together? We did. Where did that happen? In Medford? During the time when you started dating Matt, what kind of relationship was that? What were your common interests? Well, I've always considered myself a spiritual person. He was into that too, just different ways we connected on that level. We went into meditation seminars and things like that. It was a good relationship, I think. Did you find you had things in common then? Yeah, we did. He was also into martial arts. I have taken that as well with my brother. That was another common interest. Did you do martial arts together? We did. Did you ever take martial art classes with anybody? Yes. With Matt? Yes. And who was that? The instructor's name was Kit Crum. And where was that? That was in Ashland, Oregon. Oregon, right? Where is Ashland? Oregon is in comparison to Medford. It's about 15 miles south of Medford. Ashland is about 10 or 15 miles away. It's closer to Eureka. It is on the border. So you and Matt would take these martial art classes from Mr. Crum in Ashland? Yes. And you said that you went to meditation seminars? We did. How did that come about? Well, I can't remember. He had been exploring different religions. I was raised Christian, so at first it was a little bit odd for me. But he explained, I don't know, he had been exploring Wiki Hinduism, all these different things. So we sort of kind of merged into this new age kind of genre, so to speak. And he found that this meditation class online that was happening in Nevada in the Bay Area. And so we went there and we checked it out. So you traveled with him to do that? Yes. As far as your relationship was concerned, we talked about Bobby not having a job when you were with him. How was it with Matt? How did he treat you in that sense? With Matt, he was working. He had a stable job. Wasn't a lot of money, but he had responsibility with his money mostly, and he paid for half of the things mostly, and he treated me a lot different than Bobby did. How is it that he treated you differently? Well, he was polite, he was a gentleman, he was a little more chivalrous, and he was nice. Was he respectful? He was respectful. At a certain time, how long altogether were you with Matt? About 1 year and 8 months, roughly. Closer to 2 years, but not quite. All right. And when you were dating Matt, was there a time when you left your job at Applebee's? Yes. Where did you go? Matt and I moved to Crater Lake, Oregon. Where's Crater Lake? It's 70 miles north of Ashland and southeast of Medford, I think. I mean, it is east. It is kind of in the middle of nowhere in the mountains. What kind of place is it? I believe it's a national park, or it might be a state park. I think it's a national park. It's all protected land. There is a resort there. There is a lodge there. It is not really a resort. What? Sorry, go ahead. It is a historic lodge with a sort of dining room, so we got work there. You got work there? Is that why you moved there? Right. Seasonal work? Sorry? Seasonal work? Seasonal work, okay. So what do you mean by seasonal work? Well, it snowed out almost the whole year except for 5 months, starting July through October. Is the only time when the season is. Did you go up there to get work that season when it was not snowed out? Yes. And did you and Matt both go up there? Right. And what kind of living arrangements did you have? They are dorm-style living arrangements. We had our own dorm. It was a bathroom, and there was a main kitchen area for all of the employees. It's like a staff housing. There are different dorms. We stayed at the newer ones down at the bottom of the mountain over there, our newer ones at the top. You said staff housing? Yes. As an employee, does that mean you would you would be able to live in specific housing just for employees? Yes. And you said you and Matt shared a dorm? Yes. And what is it that you did there? We both waited tables there. So you continued on with your serving? With being a server? Yes, I did. And because this is more like a resort or a lodge, how would you compare it to Applebee's? It was kind of more fine dining. I don't know if it even has a rating of any kind or anything like that. It is fancier, it is nicer, the food is more gourmet. Did you feel like you were progressing as far as your job was concerned in the places you were going? It seems like a nicer place. Obviously, it is nicer than Denny's, and I kind of felt I was moving up. The money was getting better, that sort of thing. So you're down there for a season. What do you do after the season's over? We moved back to Medford. What did you do when you moved back to Medford? Did you get a job waiting for you? Did you have a job waiting for you? Applebee's hired me back. It's almost like we went back to our old life again. What happened during the second season? Did you go back to Crater Lake? No. The second season came close, and Matt and I decided to have some space between us. By the time we weren't getting along, we were getting along. By then, we weren't getting along, we were getting along. There was a little more argument in our relationship. It wasn't as happy anymore. We decided to spend time apart. When you're spending time apart, did you consider yourself broken up? No, we're not broken up. We just needed space. Not living together. It was kind of like a trial period. We were still together on the weekends. He could still come to my apartment. I moved to Ashland, and we were still together. Why did you move to Ashland? Ashland is where I've always wanted to be. It's a little more expensive because it's kind of a little touristy town, but I found a good deal on some apartment listings online, and I applied for it, and I got the apartment. Were you working at Applebee's in Medford? Yes, and so during the second season, where did Matt go? He went to Crater Lake for the soon. And you stayed in Ashland? I did. And some point in time you were there? Was there a breakup in your relationship? Yes. What happened? Well, this is really long, so we're going to have to remember. Hold on, I've got to get something, but we're going to have to remember the page number of this. Okay. So we have to get a stopping place, and then we're going to go to page 100, and that'll be easy to remember. Everybody remember page 100. Okay. I found out he was seeing someone in Crater Lake, so how did you find that out? Some people who work at Crater Lake told me. I didn't know these people, but they recognized me because on the weekends that he didn't come stay with me, I went and stayed with him. Objection, lack of foundation. How does she know they recognized her? Sustained. Did people come and talk to you? They stopped me. I don't know how. They stopped you. Did they know who you were? Yes. How do you know that? They said, "Hi, Jody." Based on the fact that they called you by name, you were able to understand that they knew you? Right. You were at Applebee's at the time? Yes. So they stopped you as you were walking by, you said? Right. And what happened? I just asked them how. I asked them if I knew them. Maybe I don't remember them from something. They said, "We work at Crater Lake." I said, "Oh, that's great." I knew they were there, and they knew Matt, and that's how they knew me. And I just said, "Hi," kind of thing. I continued on. I kept working, and did you eventually learn that Matt was seeing somebody? Objection, leading. Overruled. Before they left, I stopped by their table one more time, and they told me. They told you? Yeah. They said they took a vote and they decided to tell me. I'm sorry? They said, we took a vote and decided to tell you. Prior to that, were you at Matt's dad's house ever? What do you mean by ever? I have been there. That's a good question. Prior to that, did you ever see a picture of Matt and a girl at Crater Lake? Objection, leading, overruled. I did. I was at Matt's dad's house, hanging around with his girlfriend. And we were on the computer and we were looking at photos, and there were photos of a girl with, the file name was just a B. This was the initial, maybe the file names were B, B1, B2, B3, and that kind of thing. Where were the pictures taken? Can you tell? Yeah, I could tell if it was in the lodge. It was called the Great Hall, the lodge of the dining room. Could you tell whether or not it was a current picture, like from that particular season? That I couldn't tell. I didn't look at the date, timestamp. It looked current. So based on that, and then you would have these people talk to you at Applebee's after that? Yes, this occurred after that. It made me put the two together, but not right away. But yeah. Tell me what happened when you found out Matt was seeing somebody. I asked them a few more questions. I asked them what her name was, and they said it was Bianca, and so that's when I put the two together. The B and Bianca. Yeah, they say Bianca. I didn't know her. It was slow. I asked my boss to leave early, and why did you ask your boss to leave early? So I can go there and find out if it was true. So you were going to drive all the way up to Crater Lake? Right. How long of a drive is that? It is 70 miles. So is that a little over an hour? Well, it's through the mountains. It takes roughly an hour and a half, I think, if I remember correctly. Did you do that? Did you drive up there? Yes, I did. Was Matt in Crater Lake at this time? No, he was in Barrago Springs during that time. What is that? Barrago Springs. It is either a city, I think. I've never been there. It is in Southern California near San Diego, and he was trying to get seasonal work during the winter at a resort there. Okay, so you're driving up. What is your purpose when you're driving up there? I wanted to see if I wanted to ask Bianca if that was true. I didn't know these people. If it was true, I obviously don't want to continue in a relationship with Matt if it's not true. I don't know who these people are, so I didn't want to take their word for it. Okay, so what happens when you get up there? What did you do? I went to the dorm on the top of the mountains and I just walked in. I mean, people are everywhere. So it is something you can just walk in? Yeah, right. And you were able to find out who this Bianca was? I did. And was she in? Was she in a room or something? She was in her dorm. Okay, and what did you do? Did you go knock on her door? Yes. Objection, leading. Overruled. I did. You did knock on her door? Right. When you knocked on her door, are you yelling at her? No. Are you causing a scene in any way? No. Were you pounding on her door to let you in? No. I knocked loudly so she could hear, but I wasn't pounding. Did she come to the door? She and a friend came to the door. So tell us what happened. The friend took off and she let me in. Hold on, I just got to get a drink here. She said she knew who I was. I guess she said she knew me. Jody, I can't hear you. I'm sorry. She let me in. We got talking. I asked her, and she said, You asked her what? Well, I said I heard that. I don't remember my exact words, but I asked her about her and Matt, and she pretty much confirmed for me. What did you do? I'm having a very difficult time hearing her. Can you push that back? Okay. So she confirms for you that Matt is actually seeing her? Is that what you just said? Yes. Okay, how did you feel? Well, at the time, I'm in her home. I'm not going to freak out or anything. Inside, we are talking about inside. How did you feel? I didn't feel good. I mean, I felt very deceived, obviously. He's still sleeping with me. He is still coming to my house on the weekends. You know, we're going places. I mean, physically going places, not in our relationship, obviously. So it hurt. I was very hurt. How did you handle that situation with Bianca after she confirms it? I asked her, like, how long it had been going on, and she told me that she said they had not slept together, but they were romantic, and they saw each other and often hung out, spent the night with each other, that sort of thing. Did you do anything to her? No. Did you start yelling at her then? I never yelled at her. Did you have any kind of angry words with her at all? No, not at all. She didn't even know we were still together. She was under the impression we were broken up. I didn't blame her for anything, you know? So what'd you do after? What'd you do after that with Matt and with your relationship? At that point, I waited for Matt to get back to Barago Springs. I think he was coming back the next day, so I went over there to where he was staying at his dad's, and at that point, I just confronted him. Judge, may I approach? Yes. Jody, I'm showing you what's marked as 692. Do you recognize that? Yes. Do you have any idea when that photo is from? That would have been taken in 2001 or 2002 after we broke up. I think it was 2002. Defense moves for admission of 692. I have no objection. I'm really having a hard time hearing her. I don't know what date it was, if she can tell us again. It was around late 2001 or early 2002, sometime in one of those years. It was after our breakup. Is that a picture? Who is that a picture of? That is Matt and I. You said that this could have been taken after you broke up. I know it was taken after we broke up because that is the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and he moved to Montana after I did. That begs the question, were you friends with him after you broke up? Yes. So tell us, how has this relationship ended? There were tears and he cried. I cried. It was difficult. Did you break up with him? Well, it just seemed, I don't know, the one person really broke up with the other. It's just that the relationship was over. He was seeing someone else. You know, obviously he had moved on in some way because he was seeing someone else, but we were just no longer together at that point. Okay, now, and at that point in time, you're staying in Ashland? Yes, I was living in Ashland at that point. In Ashland, it's where Kit Crum, the martial arts instructor, taught from? Yes, he and his girlfriend lived there too? He and his girlfriend? Right. Did you become friends with him? Yeah, I did. And through them, did you meet anybody else? Through them? Yes. I met his girlfriend's brother. Right. And his girlfriend's brother is, what is his name? His name is Richard Millay. And Richard Millay, of what importance is he to you? He was eventually a reference for me to get a job down in the Monterey County again so that I could leave Southern Oregon. It was kind of a sentimental place for Matt and I just wanted to get out of the area in a way now that we were broken up. Richard Millay, how is it that he got you a reference? Where was he working? He was working at a resort called Ventana Inn and Spa in Big Sur, California. Can you describe for us what Big Sur, California is like? Right. It's more like it has its own zip code. It is more of a region than a city. There is not a lot of development there. It's a protected area. It's roughly 28 or 30 miles south of Monterey, and it is directly on the coast. Is it the place that we see in pictures that has big cliffs? Right, like plummeting into the Pacific. That is that area. As far as living in Big Sur, is that an expensive place to live? It is, yeah. And so through Richard, how does that come about that he helps you get a reference to Ventana? I talked to Kit and his girlfriend. I believe that we broke up. Matt and I broke up. She is one of them. It was one of them maybe suggested maybe you should go work at Ventana. And I said, where is that? So we waited until her brother, he takes a year vacation. He takes a vacation every year. Who takes a vacation every year? Richard Millay, and he goes to specific places every year on his vacation. And one of those places to visit his sister. So when they were coming up and decided to all meet, we were actually building something, a TV in the forest at their property. So we spent the day together doing that. And so he could get to know who I am to see if I was somebody who would be a good reference. You spent the day basically with Richard Millay? Yes. Right. And then Kit and his girlfriend? Yes. After that, did he then help you get a job at the Ventana Inn? He did. What happened? Did you go down for an interview, or how did that work? Yeah, I went down for an interview. I was hired. Describe for us the type of place the Ventana Inn is. Well, you drive forever on a windy road on the coast. We're going to stop there. It's 110 now because I said 100 and we went to 110 and I'm falling asleep and it's 5 o'clock in the morning and I have to go to bed. I'm falling asleep too, Danielle. I'm gone. I'm leaving. So that's that for that of Jodi Arias. I hope that you enjoyed that, and we will. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to continue this ever. It's just going to depend. We'll see what we'll do. Might be every night. It might be 3 nights a week. It might be 4 nights a week. It might be something else, and then this later. I don't know. We'll find our own pace. Okay. Are you still enjoying it? Let me take a survey before we go. Uh-oh. I don't think that was a survey. It didn't get filled out. Uh-oh. I keep trying. Forget that. It's not, those are not, there's no survey there. I've got to do a survey. Hold on. Trying to do a survey. Okay, now it's working. Now it's working. Good night, Aurora. Hi, Liza Ann. Sensible Crime. You're enjoying it. Carol Plant. Scooby Don't. You've been enjoying a lot. Okay, good. Deborah Vancouverton. Mimi. Your Kill. Fiona 5. Thank you, Fiona. Lisa H. Kevin Leonard. It was interesting, so please continue it. Okay, so everybody's saying yes. All right. All right, so we'll see you guys later. Bye now. I've got to end this over here. Prayers for all. God bless. Stay well. See you later. Hi, Sully. You're loving it. Good. You're enjoying it. Your Kill. Good. Hi, Norma Harn. How are you? Where's our other Norma? We haven't seen her in a while. Again. Yeah. Casey Jones says, please don't stop. Okay. Don't stop. Won't stop. Hi, Lucy Elliott. You're really enjoying it? You're enjoying it thoroughly. Okay, good. All right. We'll see you guys. Well, I have to end this. Hold on, I have to end the poll before we go. Why are we going so far back? And why are they going so far back? Because it's all relevant. You have to know, about her life. It's all very important to the case. Her past behavior is the best predictor of future behaviors. Okay. See you later.